I'd like to call to order the February 23rd Town Council meeting. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mike Aurelio.
Here.
Brian Blazak.
Present.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Michael Schilling.
Here.
Harold Sweats.
Here.
David Westland.
Present.
Jason Dravitt.
Present.
And Beth Hernandez, present.
Okay. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes. We've got July 28th, 2021, August 25th, 2021, September 8th of 21, September 22nd of 21, November 23rd of 21, November 7th of 21, December 22 of 21, December 29 of 21, January 13th of 22, and January 26th of 22. Most of these minutes we had last month. I did not have a chance to go through those. There were a couple of errors on the July 28th one, which were corrected and sent out, and also on the August 25th one, which was corrected and sent out as well. So, questions or comments on the minutes?
Yeah, on January 13th and January 26th, I didn't get that in my packet. She asked me if I had them, and I thought that was all from the last time.
Right.
But I looked, I didn't have the 13th and the 26th.
Okay, so would you like to defer those two then for tonight?
You can defer those, but did the court reporter go through all this? There's a lot of minutes there, and I know I looked through some of them, and there was mistakes.
Right, that's
I
why,
had Chris making comments, and
right,
Chris
those have
wasn't
been
there.
corrected. That was on the July 28th one, and also on the August 25th one, yeah.
All
So
right.
those have all been corrected. With that, I would entertain a motion to handle the minutes excluding the January 13th and 26th, if you're comfortable with that.
I'm not comfortable with that many minutes being, I think the court reporter should go through the whole thing and listen to the tapes, but you guys can pass it. I'm not going to.
Okay,
Okay.
do I have a motion?
Well, so I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
I've read through the minutes, and I thought I was fine with them. Certainly do not want to pass the 13th and 26th without Wayne being comfortable. So our motion is to exclude the 13th and 26th.
That's, would make the most sense to me if they haven't seen them yet. They were brand new.
Okay.
So we'll look at August 28th, August 25th, September 8th, September 22, November 23rd, December 7, December 22, and December 29. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Hey,
Those are approved 4-1. And the January 13th and 26th will be deferred. Item number 5, public comment. Do we have emails, Beth?
No.
We do not. Okay, so it's just going to be public comment. So I would grab the sign-up sheets, if there are some. Okay. And I would ask you to try to keep your comments to 3 minutes if you could. Number 1 would be Mike Bovat.
Thank you, Mr. Sweats. My name is Michael Bovat. I am the St. John Park Board President. I live at 9291 West 103rd Place. I'd just like to bring to the attention of the Town Council the fact that our first interaction with the town liaison, Mr. Mike Aurelio, that you gentlemen appointed as the liaison to the Park Board, was relationship to the July 4th festival that's being planned. And we understand that there is some consideration being probably talked about tonight of confirming an event planner and the amount of possibly $10,000. The park board, the St. John Park Board, is in complete opposition to that. Why would we say that? In good faith, trying to work with Mr. Aurelio, he reached out and asked if we could attend a meeting on February 9th with the EDC, which we did. And at the EDC, we were just kind of getting up to speed and finding out what the July 4th event was about. And at that meeting, they had brought up that they were thinking about hiring an event planner. We commented at that time that in the past, as a park board, we had worked with the clerk treasurer's office, Ms. Beth Hernandez, and we had had some good success utilizing the resources and the assets in town. And that was on February 9th. And in fact, Mr. DeYoung, who was at the meeting, said, hey, yeah, I'm open to that. I would be in favor of talking with the clerk treasurer's office. And so we had that meeting. The next meeting we had was on February 15th, which was a park board meeting, and we had Dave from the EDC come, and he kind of brought everybody on the park board up to speed, so we were all kind of aware of what the town council was planning for July 4th. After that, we had another meeting, and that was on February 17th with the lady that was being considered as the event planner. It was a Zoom call. That was when we had a storm. I don't know if any of you remember that, but I do. But anyway, we had a storm. It was a little disjointed because of the Zoom call. After all of that, we considered and evaluated what would be best for the residents in the town of St. John. And the park board is of the opinion that we could probably do this internally. We have the resources, the assets, and we think that it would be in the best interest of the town council if they would take caution before moving forward and hiring someone at the cost of at least maybe $10,000. And also I would like to comment that as a park board, as our first interaction with Mr. Aurelio, it was different. In good faith, we had Mr. Pondinas. That was a different experience. And after evaluating and look at everything, gentlemen, we reached out to Mr. Aurelio and we said, hey, is there any way that we could just have a meeting and vet and discuss everything, because we think there's options and alternatives. He says, we're moving forward. I respectfully disagree with you, but pretty much he'd made up his mind. And I'm here to tell you that attitude, that draconian style, isn't going to set well with the park board. Pardon?
He rolled his eyes at you. It was extremely disrespectful.
But no, it really was. I mean, in good faith.
Quiet back there.
We're trying to reach out. We're trying to work together. And when you ask for a meeting and you're told, no, I made the decision, we're not going to work together. That's like a draconian park board. Maybe you guys could be familiar with that. That's not going to work for the park board. In light of all these situations, I would really encourage you to look and think about at least exploring an alternative before moving forward. What would be wrong with that? We could save $10,000. And in light of what I'm saying, I'm going to give this town council an opportunity. I'm going to give you an opportunity to turn a positive into, or to turn a negative into a positive. I'm going to suggest to you to take whatever actions necessary and appoint Mr. Wayne Pondinas as co-liaison, at least to work with the park board until we move further down the road and maybe, take a different direction. But that's another opportunity for you. So to let you know, please do not move forward unless we have a full discussion and vet this before spending $10,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Johnny Borsma?
Evening. My name's Stephen Stife. I live at 9630 Sheffield Avenue. I did have a question to the council regarding the Veterans Memorial, but I'll let somebody who has more knowledge of it, take care of that. if I could have a moment of the council's time, I would like to donate something to the memorial. Good? Johnny, on behalf of my family and the veterans across the region here,
Can you speak into the mic, please, so the
on
people?
behalf of my family and the veterans across the region, I'd like to donate this to the St. John Memorial.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
And in the event that you can't get your lease to go forward with the promises made to you, we can take a top part off for you. That's beautiful, thank you.
Johnny Boersma, 11930 West 103rd Court. My question is directed towards Mr. Sweats. It's been a year and a half, and then the last meeting I came here inquiring about the lease, I've been ignored and brushed off. I'm not going to be ignored and brushed off anymore, and I want answers on why I can't get the Veterans Memorial here that's going to honor fallen soldiers, fallen firefighters, and fallen police officers. Why are we not moving forward with this?
We need to just get a meeting scheduled.
When? This has been a year and a half. How many times are we going to do this? You have my email, you have my phone number. I'm not going to keep when we're going to meet next month. You had a whole month now to discuss it. Why isn't it on your agenda? Because you don't care? Because it sure looks like that to everybody, that every one of you sitting up there don't care. I want answers. I'm not going to keep hearing this. It's disgusting. Is it because you guys don't have your hands on it or making money off of it? Or how about the people that are fallen? How about the families in this town who have lost soldiers, firefighters, or
I mean,
police?
making money on it. I don't understand that.
I don't understand why it's been a year and a half. I can't get a lease. It's been approved. Everything was official. We went through the town attorney. Everything was. I talked to my attorney. We had it surveyed. I had it all done. Here we are a year and a half later, being ignored.
Okay.
And we're going to listen to that. Well, we have to have a discussion. Yeah, this is what we said last month. And here we are again, saying the same thing.
Well, the discussion, I think, or the meeting needs to be between you and your attorney and me and our attorney. So we
Well,
need to set
our
that.
attorney's been being paid for, both sides.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Westland's been handling the situation from you and me, both.
Okay.
But it was already done and handled. Am I correct, Mr. Westland? We had it all approved. I did what I had to do. You guys approved it. You said we were waiting on the lease.
I don't know what you mean by I was paid by both sides. I would take exception to that. I know.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, of
Yeah.
course. I'm sorry. But
Initially, yeah, there was a, and I'd have to look at my file specifically. And after the last meeting I did, I went back to the file because it has been a period of time since we last discussed this.
way too long.
But there was an issue with how that land came into the possession of the town that we thought was not going to be a hurdle, but we still needed to handle it. It was the St. John Civic, I'm doing this from
St. John Civic Club, but
Civic Club.
can we at least get a date for this man so we can meet with him?
Now, keep in mind, it's not just for me, okay? This is for the fallen, and this is for the residents, not for me. I'm just the one that leads it. I'm the president and founder of my foundation. That's all I am.
And I do think you and I had a conversation where we talked about a lease, and that when we convey a lease, that's conveying an interest in land. And there are specific statutory requirements that you have to go through to do the lease, right? Whereas a license, which could still give you the interest in what you're looking for and would, I think, satisfy your needs, would not require the same kind of legal hurdles to get it done. And I think you and I talked about it, and my recollection is you said something along the lines of whatever you have to do, as long as I have, and I know that I have this property for a period of time, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I could care less how many years it is, but it was brought to me.
We can do the same years. So it wasn't a question of how many years. It was just the language that there's legal implications to a license versus a lease. And I think you and I briefly talked about that. But that would, I mean,
Well,
that could be
last
done.
night at the Republican meeting, Mr. Aurelio had spoken up, which he probably has no knowledge of any of this because he wasn't around.
I was just gonna say that. I'd like to be brought up to speed on this because it
But
sounds like a
wasn't
great
in-
project.
But I think a 99-year lease is too long. There's got to be a better. Listen, this thing's going to be here long before I'm dead and my children are dead, and it'll just be carried on and taken on by other people. It ain't like it's going to sit dormant. So it's not about me owning the land. It's about giving the residents and the fallen soldiers, firefighters, and police their respect in this town. Now, if I don't get answers, I don't need to put it in this town. I will take it somewhere else. This is a memorial honoring nobody, not nobody just in St. John. It's Indiana State, period. I could take this thing to somebody else who will appreciate it more than you guys obviously have, because you have not taken interest in it. And it's actually disgusting. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you get voted out soon. I really do. You have disrespected my fallen soldiers and my family and everybody else's because of your lack of respect. That's all I have.
I would disagree with you on that totally.
You met with a photographer, but you won't meet with Johnny, so I wouldn't have anything to add there.
Yeah, the photographer got a meeting within a week. But that's them.
Can we get a meeting with this guy and at least say if we're gonna do the project or not do the project, so we
I'm
can...
I'm in agreement with that as
Continue
well.
on.
I would like to be brought up to speed with this project. It sounds like a good one. I want to honor our veterans and our first responders as well. I would like to be brought up to speed on the project and have it move forward.
Okay.
Why don't we get a meeting with Johnny, Johnny's lawyer, Mr. Westland, Mike Aurelio, and see what they can come up with.
Why don't we
And
just do the council and have let's put this on
Okay.
a study session and let's get it done. Let's get it out in the open and get it, get it completed.
get it ironed out.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't do that into the microphone, please.
Keith McCoy, 9557 West Oak Ridge Drive. Normally I don't get involved in stuff like this, but I am a Marine Corps veteran, 5 years, and I would like to see something honor me, my family, other families in our town. And I wasn't really going to say nothing because I don't want to get in, but to hear someone that's coming out of there to try to do something, it's a good thing for us in the town. But when he's not threatening, but basically he'll take it somewhere else. That's not a good thing for us. I understand it's been a year and a half. It shouldn't have to drag on like this. And I would hate for us to lose this opportunity that someone's bringing to us. And I'm just saying, we all support our veterans. We all fly our flags. But this is something we can do extra for our town, our citizens, our veterans, and the families of veterans. Don't let this get away from us. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, this council has already invested in it and donated to the project. The holdup and the slowdown was all about the land and things like that. So, Mr. Westland, if you think the land thing is in order, let's get a meeting and let's make sure that we get this ironed out.
No. The holdup was no land issue. It was all taken care of. See, so I don't want you sliding off that easy saying that, well, we were waiting for, no. It was all approved. I've got emails. It was all approved. And then the last email, I believe, was, Mr. Westland, can we proceed with the lease? And there's when so everything has been taken care of. So it's not correct that you're sitting there saying that it was a land issue. I had the land surveyed. So when the land is surveyed, all the details are right in that land survey. Everything. So you're wrong.
Okay.
No, I mean,
You say that
okay,
I'm
but
wrong,
you
then I'm
are.
wrong. Okay, so
I've
maybe,
got emails. I could send them to you.
okay.
You understand, I have a full-time job, and I do this on my free time. I volunteer on the park board in this town on my free time without getting paid. What little time do I have? And I work my foundation every day, every night. So this is my passion. This is my love. There's nothing to gain in this for me. Nothing. My foundation takes no money whatsoever in our pockets. Nothing. So this is my heart and passion. And as you can see, it's other people's too.
Sure.
So it ain't just about me at all. None of it's about me.
Never said it was.
But I find it very disrespectful to just let this go and brush it off. Now, I want to know why a photographer can get a meeting within a week and I can't. Personal vendetta, maybe?
Nope.
Well, what is it then? I
I
mean,
just
you
think-
guys always like answers, so I like to have answers too.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can get it pushed along. That's all I can say. From what I understood, the land thing was not all totally resolved yet.
It was completely resolved.
Okay. Then we'll get together
Mr. Westland,
with,
if I'm wrong, speak up, please. But if you remember, I know it's hard to remember every detail, but everything was handled, correct? Like legalities of it?
Other than the question of the license or the lease, which, you know,
Right.
I'm happy to meet with you, and I forget who you were using as your attorney, but, you know, I think Mr. Schilling, Mr. Aurelio, I mean, I think they made a suggestion about a meeting. I'm happy to, you know, whatever Mr. Sweats.
If we can handle this without my attorney, because the money that's paid to the attorney for the memorial will come out of the donation money. I would rather not spend attorney fees for that. So if this can be handled without my attorney, I'm more than willing to do it.
Right, and that was just out of deference if you wanted to bring whoever you want to
Right.
bring, right? I don't, if you're comfortable on an initial meeting, and then taking the information from that meeting, if you feel it's necessary to talk to whomever, then that's fine. That's your
Okay.
call. So, in fact, you know, with the council, I mean, I can have Johnny stop by my office and he and I can just sit down and go through it, and then he can take whatever he needs to. I mean,
that's fine, because that's how it was handled before in the past.
yeah, so,
I wasn't a part of the whole land lease thing, so.
so if you want to, I mean, right after this meeting, stop me and we'll
No, that's
figure out when you want to
I
do
get
it.
up at 3:45 a.m. for work.
Oh, you're not
so,
staying, so.
No, but I would be more than happy to have a meeting about it and discuss it and get it finalized. Because the only thing that the council's concern was about the eternal flame. And again, I will go on record and saying that the eternal flame will cost $80 to $120 a year.
All right, I'll make a motion now to, within 1 week of tonight, to set a date and make a meeting with this man to go over the lease and finalize the details of this lease.
Second that.
Comments, questions?
Or license, whichever legally is the most expeditious.
Or a license, whatever we need legally to get this going.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Thanks.
Nay.
You got
Or-
anything?
You got-
You got it.
You got anything to add, Brian?
What you just said.
No? Okay, I didn't think so.
No, it's,
Tom Hocker.
I guess I'm the aforementioned photographer that has gotten some results quickly. So, anyway, to bring you up to date, Tom Hawker, 12344 Forest Drive, resident since 2003. And I don't have a PowerPoint to show you the full extent of some of the photography that I've done. I have some prints I'll just hand up. You have a chance to look through them by the end of the meeting or whatever.
Thank you.
And this represents a project that I did 40 years ago about
Mike?
a project about representative populations in the Northwest Indiana and the heritages. And so, just to be brief as I can about the purpose of this application, to inform you of the progress, we have about 80-90% of it already written and ready to submit. We still have 2 weeks before the deadline. And it's free money, you might say. That is, the state is making available through grants, not to individual artists, but to nonprofits and municipalities that can support an artist to bring the work into the public sphere to have an impact on the residents of that town and the region. And so I've been photographing for the last year to
present my just to create my interpretation of what St. John is about in terms of this inflection point in the history of the town with all the building, passing of the old. And I had an interesting conversation, brief since last presentation here, was after my dental hygienist who said that she lives in Crown Point, was interested in buying property, a house, was thinking about St. John, but considered it boring because it's kind of amorphous. It's just like, where is the center? Where is the character? And so I described my project briefly. The purpose to bring the project before the town in terms of public displays, which the grant would finance in a variety of forms, is to give the residents of the town a sense of the town's character, in a sense to build a public perception that we have interesting people here engaged in purposeful activities that are building, that have a heritage to preserve. All of this together, the old and the new, and this is what I want to show in terms of bringing it to exhibits around town. For instance, I talked to VFW recently. They have they're the one big meeting space in town, which they're willing to rent out or even donate time to hang a show. And there's various ways that we can put the photographs online on a rotating basis to kind of show a whole portfolio.
So a lot of this is stuff that you covered last month as well. So
Yeah.
3 minutes are by, so if you could wrap it up, I would appreciate it.
So I have presented some information to, a draft of the application to Beth, and we think that with the minimum time on the part of the town staff, we can just get it into the system for the Arts Commission to get it on its way within the next 2 weeks. And just like, okay, we'll send it off, and if they approve it, then we get $5,000.
Okay,
So,
thank you, sir. We move on to item number 6. Item number 6 is ordinance 1752, which is a rezoning the property known as St. John Commons. This was deferred last month because of the paired villas, and the developers working through that with the Plan Commission. Because we need to do some kind of action within 90 days on this, and it could take some time for the Plan Commission to work through this with the developer, I am looking for a motion to deny this request. And the Plan Commission is already working on it with the developer. This just kind of resets the whole thing. Make sense, Mr. Westland?
Yeah, so there was a question of, in the back of the development, paired villas versus single-family homes. And we deferred it. My understanding is the developer's already presented something to the Plan Commission that would change that. But the way this ordinance is written, it would allow for those paired villas. If you don't take any action, 90 days from certification, it automatically becomes approved. So in order to kind of effectuate the intent of both the developer and the council at this point, it would be prudent to deny this ordinance. And then I anticipate in the next month or two, you're going to get the revised ordinance that has the single-family homes in the back.
We have a meeting going to be tentatively scheduled within a week with the attorney and the developer.
Okay.
Okay, so we just need a motion.
Motion to deny the consideration of ordinance 1752.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor of denying this petition or this request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved or denied 5-0. Item number B is to consider fire department transfer of appropriations. You got comments on this one, Mike, or?
They asked to take money that they have in their, already budgeted for in their part-time funds and transfer it into to hire another full-time guy. Now, I don't know if they went down to the clerk to find out that can all be done. If they didn't do that, then I would make the motion to defer this until they.
Beth, are you familiar with this?
I am not, I've seen nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, make a motion to defer.
Okay, motion by Mr. Schilling, is there a
Second.
second by Mr. Rilio. All in favor of deferring this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
say nay.
So, Mr. President, I
That is
noticed that,
deferred 5-0.
I noticed that Steve is he on the line with us here? From Sender and Company?
Yes, Steve from Sender and Company and Kevin Leduc, the fire chief, were online.
Okay, so Kevin would be here to answer these questions.
Yes, he's available if you wish to discuss it.
I do. I don't want to just blow this off because it's on the agenda, and I know that he's put some time and energy into this. Mr. Leduc, do you have an issue with?
I didn't know they were online.
I didn't either. I wasn't sure.
I wouldn't.
Did you want to discuss this now, Kevin, or would you be okay with deferring this till next month and we can go through the clerk treasurer's office?
No, I'm 100% okay with deferring. Beth is right; she wasn't informed of this,
Okay.
so I do need to speak to her about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, since our financial planner is on, I'm going to move over to him because he's on the clock. And we've got some issues some things we're working on with him. Mr. Westland, you want to cover some of this? Or Mr. Rilio?
Well, really, we're going to lead a discussion about setting our budget process for setting our budget for 2023. So I had asked Steve to lead us in that discussion. Steve, are you ready and are you available here to lead that discussion?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you, council, for letting me step in the agenda ahead of my slot. I appreciate that. My recommendation, as we were discussing the budget process, is that we do a deep dive into each individual department, asking all the various questions that you all probably will ask individually, like payroll and expenses and capital planning and procedures and benchmarking, but carve out some time, 1 hour at least, with each department in the months of April, May, and June of this year, so that you understand the departments well, and you understand them well enough to develop a proposed budget far in advance of any deadline that would need to be met to advertise. I'm assuming the clerk treasurer likes to get advertised sometime in August, so we need to stay ahead of that schedule so that the budget can be advertised prior to official actions in September and October.
Okay. So you suggest we start that process in April,
I do.
which is right around the corner.
Do you want to give us the departments in order, or do you want us to just pick them as we go along?
I'd be open to your input on that, gentlemen, because you know your departments better than I do after 30 days of working together. So one of my recommendations typically is to start with some of the easier ones and work to the harder ones. We get a little bit of momentum built up when we do that.
Okay. What's your vision? How many meetings a month do you think we would need to have to work through this process in and really flush out all the information we're looking for?
Councilman, how many departments would you suggest that you want to meet with? And the reason I ask the question that specific way is sometimes we give department head titles to people, and we end up with 60 departments in a small town. I'm sure you don't have that many, but would you say you have 10 departments?
How many departments do we have?
I'd say less.
I'd say about 5. You got the Parks Department, you got the
Public
Public
Works,
Works Department,
Fire
the
Department,
Fire Department,
right?
Police
Police
Department.
Department,
Building and
Parks.
planning?
Building and Planning.
Planning?
So 5 or 6?
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay.
say half a
6.
dozen.
That seems to me like a good indication of trying to do one every other week through those 3 months. And that way you have some time to gather information, some time to follow up before you bite off the next department 2 weeks later.
Okay.
Okay, and
Plus, I believe, Steve, that last year was the first year that they really got their feet wet on this budgeting process. In other words, having a say and having to more or less present their ideas in their own budget and their plans. And keep in mind, this is a 5-year forecast, so therefore it's going to be 23, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there'll have to be some discussions or meetings held before, so that the budgeting process with capital requirements that they feel they want or need, so that they can get feedback from us as to, you know, what we're thinking and what plans we might be willing to go along with.
Yeah, Councilman, I would totally agree. As a matter of fact, the first meeting with any department should not necessarily be to finalize a budget. It should be to understand how the department currently operates, how its organizational chart works, how it's currently staffed. If they have staff people that are paid out of multiple departments, to get a better feel for how those are allocated. We should seek to understand first and then build together budgets later in the summer as we culminate with the final advertised budget for the clerk treasurer.
Plus, we build as we go, so that
Correct.
it's an ongoing affair.
Yep.
so you're looking for some documents to get us started. Have you gotten the documents that you've asked for?
We have received from the clerk treasurer's office financials through the end of December. I think I noted to each of you that we also have that the clerk treasurer also posted the annual report, which is required to be posted this month. So you're current on end of December. I have not yet received January. It's probably coming soon. So that would keep me current on financial reports. We've also requested quite a bit of detailed payroll reporting, and I believe so far have not received any of those documents.
So how long would it take you to, once you receive that type of information, to get yourself ready to start this process?
It would not be a lengthy process, Councilman, no more than a week.
Okay, about a week. So for me, you know, I really was very interested in this process. When we went through our budget process last year, I didn't feel well informed. I would like not to have that feeling this year when I go through it. I've kind of developed a little bit of statement here, kind of going through my thoughts. You know, our residents and our families deserve the best possible town services. We have many hardworking workers and dedicated town workers, and we need to give them the resources to be successful and do a good job. I want to focus on improving town services like snow plowing, pothole repair, proper staffing levels in our public works, parks department, building and planning, town manager's office, and the clerk treasurer's office, and utilities. In addition, we need a capital and equipment review. We have road projects, parks to build, new additional parks, and park improvements. We need sidewalks so families can safely travel to these parks. Do we need better plows, more fire trucks, more police equipment? I think I need to better understand the cost of our government here in St. John. I don't completely understand the cost of our government here in St. John, and I'm making the financial decisions. I think we need to better understand outstanding bond issues, our TIF income, future bond needs, principal payments, interest costs, maturity dates, and more. For these reasons, I ask the town council and clerk treasurer to start an in-depth financial review, which is what my hope is what we're doing here, and budget process. In order to begin that and complete that process, we need our financial information from our clerk treasurer. So I would like to make a motion. So pursuant to IC 36-1-4-12, I would like to make a motion to require the clerk treasurer to turn over the following documents to the town council. Number 1, timesheets, time cards, or similar documentation of the hours employees work for all employees for the year of 2021, with the appropriate redactions for personal information. Documents evidencing supervisor, department head approval of timesheets or time cards for all employees for year 2021, with the appropriate redactions of personal information. And number 3, documents regarding outstanding bond issues, including principal, interest, payment schedules, and maturity dates. I further move that these documents are not produced by March 9th, 2021. The town attorney is authorized to take all appropriate legal action, including but not limited to initiating of litigation to obtain the requested documentation. I so move that.
Okay.
With a countersuit, just so you guys are clear, with a countersuit.
So we need a
Just so
second.
we're clear.
I need a second.
Do I have a second on that motion to get it on the table?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion.
I don't want to see us sue each other.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
What's the purpose
But we need
of
to-
getting all that information, time cards and all of that? Wouldn't that be State Board of
So,
Accounts?
Steve, could you explain why we need that information for our budget process?
Well, I could come up with a series of reasons, but let me just start with this, Councilman. According to state statute, you are responsible for the internal controls of the town by law. And when you are audited by the State Board of Accounts, and if they were to find that there was any inconsistencies between pay stubs, pay checks, timesheets, supervisor approvals, you will be the ones written up for having
That's
failed the
false.
town.
I'm sorry, but that's false.
It's not false. The
That's
town
false.
council is responsible for internal controls.
Not for payroll-related matters, but I will not engage any further in this conversation without my legal representation.
So in your opinion, of course, in the documentation we're asking for, the average citizen could FOIA and receive.
That's false.
You can't get payroll records, you can't, that's why that's all kept separate, Mike. You can't, there's HIPAA violations, you can't just go into their files.
Dave, is that true or not true?
There's actually, and, you know, with deference to the clerk treasurer, her attorney and I disagree about this, but there is a advisory opinion from the public access counselor that this information can be obtained from any citizen of the town of St. John with the appropriate redactions for personal information.
That's all I
So
want.
can I
That's what I asked for.
urge you to take a look at your docket while we're sitting here, since we're in open discussion?
Well, I want to complete this
You-
process first.
You
No,
don't
thank
want, you
No,
don't.
thank you.
I thought
So,
you were in
just-
open
I-
discussion, Mr. President.
but with this motion.
Are we talking about this motion, or are we talking about
Correct.
something?
That's correct.
Now you're going to the docket, though.
That's correct, regarding the motion.
If she can link it to the I mean, I think she's saying it's related to the motion, so I think that she's entitled to that.
Okay.
Sure.
So if you look at items 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can see by payroll, 77 police pension fund, what we paid out for payroll dated 1/21/22. Going to the February 4th payroll, what we paid out for the 77 police pension. Now look at 1/21/22. That's what we paid out for the fire pension. 2/4, what we paid out for the fire pension. If you continue down the docket, you guys get this information on a monthly basis. You can see benefit admin systems, page 2, tells you by department how much we pay out per payroll for group insurance. If you continue down the docket, and I may not catch them all, you can see our EFTPS payments, which is our federal FICA and Medicare payments. You can see per payroll. You can see our FSA account expenses, our FSA deductions per payroll.
But that doesn't help us break
I was just
anything
gonna
down.
say,
Oh, it
what-
absolutely
What
breaks it down.
information?
I'm sorry,
Not
but
specific, yeah, this is not.
That's
a
it's
summary.
absolute, so you need to know,
Summaries.
let me just take an employee, for example. You have, Joe. You think that you're supposed to be an oversight, right? We're not micromanaging. You think that it would be appropriate for you to see what garnishments Joe has taken out personally, what his Aflac is taken out personally, what he takes out for nationwide, how much he has sent from his checking account to potentially a savings account. I guess I'm having a hard time with how you're linking, you need that amount of detail. To me, a town council should be looking at the full amount by payroll, by department, by fund, which is all provided to you in the docket. When you ask for a W-2, you can go to the 100R in Gateway, which is the identical thing to a W-2 without having to give people's, sit there and black out people's social security numbers.
So I would ask our financial advisor who we're paying to guide us through this process, Steve, what do you think of that? Do you think that's superior to what we're talking about?
I would agree with Beth that there's quite a bit of information in those warrant dockets that you're looking at. There's quite a bit of information in an appropriation report. There's quite a bit of information on the 100R, as she refers to, similar to W-2. If you're trying to get, though, to the individual timesheet, to review hours submitted on a biweekly basis and approved by a supervisor, I don't believe, unless I'm mistaken, and I don't understand your procedure, that you'll find that information in those specific reports.
So Jason could easily
So what I'm asking
print
for,
those,
so I
correct?
think what we're asking for is reasonable, because we're going to do a department by department review, and I just don't understand why there'd be any problem with it, dealing with the real information and walking through the real information to arrive at our real cost of operations. So we know how to allocate resources, capital, personnel. I just think I don't know any other way to do it. I've done it on other boards. I've done it on other commissions. This is the way we've always done it. We go to the primary information and we build our budget from there. That's just the only way I've ever done it. I don't understand why actually there's any debate on this at all.
Because I don't think that you need to know by specific employee what deductions, garnishments, et cetera, that specific employee takes. I understand by department why you would want to know by department what a group is paying out or things of that nature, but why you would want to delve into a specific employee. You guys set a salary ordinance, and then you guys assign which employees are designated those classifications.
Well, I think a good example is earlier this week with Wayne. He had sent an email around saying that he was totally against hiring an additional employee inside the town manager's office. And, I'm in favor also. I want to save money. I do not want to spend frivolously our tax dollars. But again, I have no idea. I do not know what is the proper allocation inside our town manager's office. What I see, once we develop and understand this information, we then need to look at it versus a gold standard. What are other towns around doing? I think this is the process I'm describing is what's being done other places.
Can you explain to me what you mean by you cannot see a proper allocation out of the town manager's office?
Well, I think a good example is Wayne and I are in agreement of making sure our tax dollars are spent wisely for sure. But I think then we're in disagreement, and we might be in agreement or disagreement on whether we need more staffing in the town manager's office. I really don't know. But I don't know if you know either. So to understand, you need to do a proper in-depth review. I'm just saying, I'm telling you what I need. I know you don't need that, but I need that. To make decisions, I need that.
No, what I'm saying
I don't know why I'm being restricted. I would like the information. I would like to go through the process.
Are you going to let me respond?
Sure.
So then can you explain to me, let's take a town manager's department, because that's what you're referring to. You have Jason, you have an administrative assistant, you have a part-time recording secretary and a town manager. If you go to your docket, each line for those positions will tell you exactly what they make. How is that not enough information for you?
I think it's just,
it will tell
I think
you.
you're demonstrating my point. I think you're
No, I'm
demonstrating. You're well aware of that, and I'm not. So
Let
we're the financial body. I don't know.
Let her finish her statement
Please,
instead of interruptions. Go ahead.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Jerry. What I'm saying is, if you are receiving the information on a monthly basis through the docket of which you approve, why do you need me to go reduplicate it in a different manner?
I think what we need to.
So maybe what we have to do is look at all the employees' records and their paycheck stubs, because you're asking to do the same thing with the state, not the State Board of Accounts, with the accounting firm. So I wouldn't want somebody to have my paycheck stub.
I don't need,
I don't think we need the paycheck stubs.
That's what they're asking for.
No.
Let's try, we have all these departments coming in here wanting additional people. We have the police department wanting additional people. We have the public works department coming in here wanting additional people. We need to find out our true cost of government. Now, I think we can figure that out by looking at the number of employees we have in each department, look at our salary ordinance, and base it off of them working, they mostly work 40 hours a week. We can get a baseline of what it's gonna cost to run our government. I don't see each individual timesheet will help, but I think if we have a meeting where we sit down and we count out how we have everybody in each department, we can figure out the cost that's associated with each department.
I would think that the timesheets would be important, because we need to know how many hours people are working.
So a
I want to
full-time,
know
Well, we know how many they're working. They're supposed to be working 40 hours
Oh,
a
you've
week.
got some overtime in, you've got some comp time in.
so, but Jerry, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but again, if you go to your docket, you will see by department how much overtime is coming out of each department. And you would know that a full-time employee, a 40-hour-a-week employee works 2,080 hours a year. I mean, I'm just,
Okay, but
so
is that-
anything above 2,080 hours a year falls into the overtime category. And if you take a look under the payroll section on the docket, you're going to see who received. You're not going to receive which specific employee received that overtime, but you're going to see by department how much that department put out per payroll in overtime, how much that department put out per payroll for, each classification of employees.
So, but based on what the employee gets paid per hour will be determined on what gets paid out. So if somebody's working, if we have X number of dollars in overtime pay, is that because one guy worked 10 hours, or is it because 10 guys worked 1 hour?
Well, that would be a department, I guess, decision on who's earning that overtime. I'm not, micromanaging to that point.
That's what we want to analyze. I mean, I've been
And
been getting a lot of comments from the public about, we don't have enough staff, we haven't increased our staff, we haven't done anything in the past however many years. So I want to know individuals' time cards to see what hours we're putting in. I want to know how much overtime we're paying for specific people. I want to be able to incorporate the part-time people, because we've got a part-time person in the town manager's office, and maybe we need to eliminate a part-time person and bring on a full-time person so we can get our minutes done. There's a lot of variables here, and if we don't have all the information, we're not going to be able to analyze
So
that
what
stuff,
I
is
think
my
would
thought.
be, if I'm understanding you correctly, you don't need everybody's individual paycheck stubs like was requested. Give me 1 second, but Jason could easily reprint the timesheets, which will show by employee how many hours they submitted daily and how much overtime and comp time they received. I mean, it's a timesheet. You've seen them. You're familiar, Mike and Wayne. It's a spreadsheet, and it'll say Bob, Jack, Sammy, Tammy. And it'll tell you exactly how many hours they were paid each day per week.
So if I can add, I just don't understand, again, we're gonna go through a budget process. We're asking for information that the average citizen could simply FOIA and receive. This is information that the town council, as the financial body of the town, should have and analyze. I'm not sure why there's a problem with it at all and why you're even questioning us. We're asking for public records to be supplied to us for we can do a budget process. That's it. I don't understand
And
even why we're talking about it.
I don't understand why such a voluminous request would have to be put upon my office when you are receiving that information, when Jason could simply go through and print, if you're looking for 2021 financials, Jason could easily go through and reprint all of the timesheets that the employees themselves are going in and entering into the sheet, and it is going to produce for you all the information that you are approving on a monthly basis here through a docket. And that's reported through the gateway system. Why you would need an individual employee's paycheck stubs and W-2s, it seems very
right?
Well,
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You do things one way, somebody else does it another way. I don't think we're asking for anything
do you
much
think it's
different than
wise
any other
spending
town.
for your attorney, I'm sorry, for your accounting firm to go through each individual paycheck stub rather than reviewing pay on a spreadsheet?
My answer to that, we're paying our financial firm to guide us through a very in-depth analysis of our budget for we can understand the true cost of our government here in St. John. I'm not sure why there's any problem here.
And I understand your goal, and I am giving you ways that you can reach that goal, and you're kind of saying it's your way or the highway.
No.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Our financial advisor advised us which way to go. I
Okay,
think
so
that's what we're
Steve,
paying
if you
him
don't
for.
mind, you're on the call. Would you be adverse to receiving those paycheck or the pay schedules? Was that a good word, Jason? If you want to timesheets.
Let me ask a follow-up question on that. On the timesheet, will it show who approved the timesheet?
That is correct.
So I think that that's a valuable source of information. I was not personally aware that that was something that was already available to somebody outside of your office.
That's correct, yes. The timesheet will show who approved that. They sign it at the bottom.
Correct. The stuff I can generate will be unsigned.
Okay, so I could make photocopies of that if you're looking for the actual signature, but I think that it's,
Why don't we just get the real data? Can we just have the real data?
How is that not real data? I guess
I'm just asking, can we just have the real data? Just like everybody else. I'm asking for anything that the average citizen can just go in and FOIA themselves. I'm not sure why we're even fighting over this. I just want the real data so we can do a proper analysis.
I guess at this point
I'm not sure why we're arguing.
We're at a bypass or a, so.
Well, how was this sender brought into this? You guys, it was two people that they were a committee, and I asked that at one of the last meetings. How are we going into a contract when not everybody knew about it? It was only two people, and I think, Jerry, you said it was Brian and Mike that got into this, and we're trying to approve that, and we didn't approve at that time.
So
But nobody was,
approved it.
there was no communication. I
I
knew
knew
nothing
we're
about
looking
it.
for a new financial firm.
But
I
you
chose
don't know,
not
you
to
didn't know who they were
interview
gonna,
with them.
they were going to pick.
Well, we all picked the new financial firm.
We did that last
We all
month.
picked them, so, and you're right, we can only have two councilmen in a meeting,
And
right,
that's
without
fine,
having an
but
official
then there
meeting.
was
You
no
know
further
this.
communication
But you know
down the
that.
line.
And I will say, I agree with you, that I think we completed our task maybe on a Thursday, and when we got done with that, I did ask, I said, well, need to send out who we interviewed and let everybody know, and I believe that got you late, you're right, that should have got you earlier.
thank you.
And we've talked about that, I totally agree with that.
I guess I'm just confused that if your accounting or your FA says that would be fine because he's looking for who approved the process and the employees are entering their time, and that is the sheet that we're using to pay them, and then you turn around on a docket and you're approving it, why you're insistent on receiving each individual's paycheck stub? It doesn't, the request seems, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
So his analytical mind may be a little different than my.
But is he
my-
doing
than
it or
my
is
simple
Steve doing
mind.
it, right?
We're all going to be involved.
So we're all
involved. Everybody's appetite for the financial information. I'm a business guy. I own several different businesses, right? I have a degree in economics. I do enjoy this, and this is what I do. This is what I do actually
but
for a
you
living.
just said that Mr. Dalton
and I'm
was
asking
doing
for
it.
nothing more than I would ask anytime I did any other review of finances, wherever I was. This is all I'm asking for is what is public record for if anybody in this room.
I have
FOIA this
never in
information,
my
you would
8
receive it.
years.
Just be clear, you'd all receive it. Why would the council not receive this information? The council, who is the financial body of the town. And I don't know why there isn't a problem or a debate about this. I would like to see that information. I would like it included. That should be enough. That should be okay.
So I like I said, I guess then
Why-
we are
why
at
should I be
we are
micromanaged?
at an impasse. Okay. The way that it was worded to me, and I won't go too in depth, is that the town council, by way of its financial firm, was going to do an internal audit of my payroll processes. Okay, that to me I take an issue with. You guys are not my auditing agency. That's State Board of Accounts, who comes in every 2 years to go ahead and audit it. I have provided you with the audit information, and I am, in my opinion, being very open to coming up with solutions based on what your needs are. At the same time, trying to protect what I know our employees will not be comfortable. I find it odd to say, well, we can produce a nice spreadsheet, and you say, well, no, I want each individual employee's paycheck stub. It just, so we're at an impasse. I know you have a motion on the floor. You guys can go ahead and make it, but I do want to reiterate, and I know Mr. Westland's aware, that it will result in a countersuit. We will be suing each other.
So you're gonna sue us over release of information that
You
somebody
just
can FOIA?
threatened to, you said you were suing me. Please stop.
We
You
just
threatened to
want-
sue me,
We just want the information.
and I'm letting you know it will be a countersuit.
Right, well, we just
Okay.
want, well, this is public record information, just for everybody's
Okay.
clear.
Paycheck stub is public record?
Is it public
Is it
record,
Jay?
Dave?
There, and I can cite you the opinion from the access counselor. In fact, it is. Not the social security number and not the date of birth and not, that type of
What
stuff.
about
But the hours worked, the pay.
The
that's-
deductions? Like, Aflac, Valak, nationwide, child support, any type of garnishment, is that public
Percent
record?
cost.
I think some of that would be redacted.
So you don't find it, and I know you're not my attorney in this instance, and there are times when we work together, and this isn't one of them. A request of that nature wouldn't be considered, forget it. I'm not going to put you in the middle. Just, I'm taking away my question. Just forget it. Sorry, Dave. It's fine.
And I think, Mr. Svednoff and I have had discussions about it, and, we have a difference of opinion.
I get it.
And that kind of is what it is.
It would be a shame that you can offer solutions to provide you the identical information that you're requesting, not on a person's paycheck stub or their personal W-2, and that we can't come to some sort of agreement on it. But I understand you guys have a motion on the table.
Okay,
You need
but
to
why
finish.
couldn't we have gotten some of this cooperation earlier
I did.
through emails?
I did. I told exactly.
You told who? I'm sorry, I didn't see any of it via email. So was there conversations?
There were conversations
Okay.
between my attorney and your attorney.
Oh,
Well,
well, that's not you being,
we did have two
Jerry,
conversations.
I would highly recommend that you don't go there about who doesn't communicate. I would highly recommend it,
okay.
okay?
All
So
right.
if you guys would like to go ahead with your motion.
Yeah, I don't want to spend any more time on this.
I agree.
I have a motion and I have a second on the floor. Is there any other comment? Can you
I think it's clear, wasn't it? You had the motion?
do you want the motion restated, Mr. Westland?
No, I mean, I
Got it,
think,
right.
I think the motion was, it's clear. I think it's in the minutes, it's on the tape, it's on,
Okay.
right.
All right. Then I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the motion?
You should do a roll call on this.
Okay. Ask for a roll call vote on the motion. Beth?
Mike Aurelio?
Yes.
Brian Blazak?
Yes.
Wayne Pondinas?
No.
Mike Schilling?
No.
And Jerry Sweats?
Yes. And let's hope it doesn't get to the point where we have to go there, but anyway. All right, we move on. Anything else for Mr. Dalton?
Nope. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. We are up to item C, which is the First Amendment to the Settlement Agreement with BLB, St. John, and LBL Development. Mr. Westland?
So, this is the First Amendment to Settlement Agreement. To give you a brief overview, the original settlement agreement, which was approved a while ago, was kind of broken into two parts because there's two separate lawsuits. There's the initial lawsuit, which is I'll call it the interceptor lawsuit, and then there's the lawsuit over the 40 acres. In the original lawsuit, or in the original settlement, everything was resolved, but it was contemplated in that original settlement agreement that Mr. Lawton was going to do certain things going into the future, and if he did those things, then there was going to be certain actions relative to that 40-acre parcel. But the initial lawsuit contemplated that he may not be able to do those things. So what this, and he hasn't been able to. And so what the amended settlement agreement does is it dismisses the interceptor lawsuit, which is currently on appeal. And the Court of Appeals has put a deadline of March 1st to resolve that. This agreement would resolve the interceptor lawsuit, but it leaves open in the paragraphs 12 through 16 of the original agreement that talk about the 40-acre parcel. So I know this was discussed at a prior meeting, but you do have kind of a deadline here. If this isn't approved, then the original interceptor lawsuit kind of comes back to life.
So the first settlement, the top half of it, which was
one through
the interceptor.
The interceptor part gets resolved.
Right.
And the 40 acres.
And the 160-acre development that was kind of supplemental.
Correct.
Is being pulled off.
And that is pending in the Lake Superior Court in Gary. Now, that doesn't mean we can't go back and revisit some sort of agreement with regard to the paragraphs that we're pulling out at a later date, but we don't have the deadline with the Superior Court that we do with the appellate court. So the appellate court is saying, listen, now or never with regard to the interceptor lawsuit. And so what this agreement does is it puts that to rest once and for all, and then leaves open the 40 acres where you still have some time to continue either negotiating or decide to pursue the litigation.
Okay.
Can you make it clear for public record, Dave, and that is the $3.3 million original lawsuit will be resolved?
That is the original interceptor lawsuit, and that, if you approve this agreement tonight, that is done.
That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, who were in the meetings for this? I know I was never informed on all this. We went through part of it. We met with the attorney, and I think you were at that meeting, Dave. That's been a few months ago.
That's the meeting I was referring to.
Oh, okay. But who else has been in negotiations? We haven't had no negotiations?
There haven't been since then, other than Mr. Kuiper contacting me, because if you'll recall, at that meeting, he presented this first amended settlement agreement.
Right, he had that.
He had this. And so basically, it's been him calling me every couple of weeks saying, hey, are you going to approve the amended settlement agreement? And I think, at that meeting, there was also some hope of a total resolution as well. So I think one of the reasons you guys didn't act in February or January was because we were still seeing how the rest of it was going to shake out.
Well,
and now that we know that it hasn't shaken out yet, your deadline is like next Tuesday.
Right. So I think.
And I was under the impression that meetings were ongoing since that meeting, that when you and the attorney, we had another meeting along with that was continuing on. And now this comes up, I'm like, where's the information?
Yeah, not that I've been a part of, Wayne, other than the phone calls that I've had directly with Mr. Kuiper, where he's asked me where we're at with the lawsuit.
So I think, Wayne, you and I talked about this. The thing that was stopping us from approving this at this point, or before this, was we were waiting for Well 9, and Mr. Lawton was waiting for...
Well 9 wasn't quite in his possession.
Right. That's why, once we got it, and the Pod 17 was approved by the Plan Commission, that kind of put all this together now. And so now this satisfies the whole top half of that agreement, so now we can get it settled out.
We didn't have possession, I believe, of the land title.
Right.
He didn't take possession of that till October
last
5th
year,
or somewhere in there.
So that's what we were waiting on originally. And then when we took possession of the property and it was properly recorded, if you remember, we had a rush on to get it recorded.
I was wondering what was going on with it, because I thought
I don't believe, Wayne, I don't believe anybody here had any meetings. I think I never met ever about any of this with Lawton or his attorney.
So it was a committee of pretty much.
And that's what my belief was that somebody was meeting, and when we had that meeting,
Not me.
somebody had said they're taking us apart as a group. we need to meet two on them, and I'm like, okay, that was my assumption.
Yep, never met with them.
All right. So, I noticed this amendment doesn't have everybody's signatures on it, so does it just require that my signature?
It requires a motion, a second, an affirmative vote, and your signature, and I would like to take it with me tonight.
So does the motion have to include authorizing me to sign? Because it doesn't say that on here.
I think, sure, go ahead. But, I mean, I think as the president, you have authority to
Okay.
bind the town
All right.
after a motion, but.
So do I have a motion to accept the first amendment to the settlement agreement?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Support. Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Hey,
Okay. Item D, consider resolution 2022-02-23, which is a resolution approving an order of the Plan Commission regarding resolution of the Redevelopment Commission approving amendments to the declaratory resolution and economic development plan for St. John Economic Development Area 2.
So moved.
Who's going to address this one?
I can.
Okay, thank you.
Please.
You'll recall, on December 29th, the Redevelopment Commission approved a resolution, and this is relative to the age-restricted housing, for a TIF there.
Okay.
And the process started with a declaratory resolution from the Redevelopment Commission. And statutorily, what has to happen is, you start with the Redevelopment Commission, it goes to the Plan Commission, they pass a resolution, it comes to the council has to pass a resolution, and then once both the Plan Commission and the council have signed off, it goes back to the Redevelopment Commission, which is you folks. So you're gonna get this again in March with a public hearing immediately prior to, and at that time, you'll be asked to consider a confirming resolution. Assuming you've already passed the declaratory resolution as the Redevelopment Commission. Assuming you pass this tonight, you have your public hearing, you take your public input, then you consider the confirming resolution. At that point, that age-restricted TIF would be approved.
Okay. So do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2022-02-23?
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there support for that?
Second that.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
hey,
Item E, consider ordinance 1754, which is an ordinance amending ordinances 1696 and 1750, which is the personnel policy manual. Mr. Westland, we've made some modifications to this.
So I think, and I think Wayne brought it up, and I apologize, Wayne, if I'm wrong about that.
stealing my thunder, whatever you're gonna say.
Yeah, I think he brought it up at the last meeting, that there was some ambiguity, and I don't want to misstate what he said, but there was some ambiguity relative to the first year of employment. And that, and I know through the clerk treasurer's office, that there was a desire to make the firefighter, paramedic, or firefighter EMT vacation leave consistent in that first year. So, quite frankly, all that's changed from the last time you considered it is the addition of section 16-121D. And that's really all that's what I was told was kind of lacking,
Okay.
or that people wanted in the amendment. So, Wayne, I hope.
I think you're right. We were questioning the vacation, a guy starting in November.
Right.
And how that was working out.
So this works for you? You okay with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have any questions, Chief Leduc is still on the line.
And I think, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, you saw this, right?
Yeah, I have. So, Attorney Westland's correct. It was a correction of how the fire department's vacation is prorated. And Beth did help with this, so it was prorated along the lines of everyone in town. That was changed, and I believe, Attorney Westland, if I may, did we change the part of on the personal time to have firefighter EMT and firefighter paramedic to be addressed as well in this ordinance?
Chief Leduc, you were in agreement what we were trying to ask in that last meeting, right?
Absolutely. I also believe, and there was some wording in there that we were concerned about with personal time. So it clarified that as well. Was that, I believe that was addressed in this ordinance as well.
Okay.
That would have been, you're testing my memory, which is bad.
I'm sorry.
That wasn't changed from the January meeting to the February meeting. That change would have taken place earlier. And that's in section B. And I want to make sure that that's what the intent was. I think it was, because I didn't hear anything back with regard to section B. The only feedback I received was that this first year of employment, and that's the change I made.
I think that was the one that Wayne was most worried about,
Right.
because it gave them a full year's vacation, even if they worked there a month the first
Right.
year.
Right, and that's
been
my
corrected,
recollection
right?
of what, that is corrected. And
I think that was the only hang-up we had.
Yep. I think that's all been taken care of now.
Okay.
If I may, Clerk Treasurer Hernandez, did the wording get fixed? Because I don't have it in front of me. I do apologize.
Kevin, it did.
Okay, thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank
so-
you.
So
Good night.
you're good with that too then, okay.
Yes.
All right, so then do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1754 on second reading as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0.
Have a good night, Kevin.
Good night, gentlemen. Good night, Beth. Good night, Wesley.
Okay, item F, consider ordinance 1755, which is amending our town zoning ordinance 1483 regarding tobacco and vaping products. This was considered on the first reading last month. To my knowledge, there have been no changes or corrections to this, Mr. Westland, is that correct?
I have not made any
Okay.
changes to it.
So this has remained the same. So we have a motion to adopt ordinance 1755 on second reading.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1755 on second reading.
Thank you, Mike. Is there
Second.
support? Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Item G, consider a contract with our event planner for our town events. Mr. Aurelio.
Mr. President, maybe I would recommend, we have the president of the Economic Development Committee here. We had a meeting earlier. He could explain it better than I.
Mr. DeYoung, the podium is yours.
I'm John DeYoung, 11925 Homestead Heights Drive, St. John, Indiana. I've lived here for 22 years and I own a business in town. We were asked to get involved in a festival, so I got my committee working on it in January. We were getting information on how to this could come about for the town. Economic Development wanted to get involved with this so we could try to generate some money, and our first inclination on this is that we could donate any proceeds to our Parks Department. We have 3 employees in that Parks Department, and we thought, boy, we really need to try to help this along here, maybe get another employee or buy some equipment that could be used. So we did some exploratory work on this, and I do have a pamphlet I'd like to present to you, if I may.
Sure.
And this is what our committee has been working on, so if you want to...
Pass one to Brian. I've got mine from earlier. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Give you one. Yep. Couple more here from you. Anybody else? Good. So, we've come up with some suggestions as you go through this summary that is before you. First of all, I want to just preference all of this. When this came to me, if you look back on our minutes in our meeting, I asked for inclusion from all departments in the town, especially Beth's office. I would like to have Beth involved. I think she's an important part of this. I also think the town council is a very important part of this. I think as a business person, I would like to see us work a lot more together, especially on even Mr. Boersma's recommendation here too. I think the semantics of that lease or contract or can be worked out. Wouldn't that be nice if that was achieved on the 4th of July? And wouldn't that be a great thing for this town to have everybody come together and do it on the 4th of July for our vets?
Would be great.
And that's the reason economic development got involved with all this. Now, we're here to help. We all volunteer. Dave's on my committee here also. But we want to have inclusion from every department. I think it's important. I think it creates unity. I think this town needs it. It's just my opinion. But I think if we start working together on some of these things, a lot of good things can happen. This is a very popular place to come, as we all know. We got a lot of great amenities. I do believe we have good leadership. I think we have some communication gaps sometimes. I'm kind of venting a little bit here too, but I am a resident here and I live here, raise my children here. So I'd like you to look at this. We came up on economic development to possibly hire a event planner for this. I think it's important that we get some leadership on that. We vetted numerous candidates. We also went to the South Shore Convention people to get some advice on this. Last year we got a $20,000 donation from them for our fireworks, which I think is great. We're going to apply for that grant again this year, hopefully. We have already on economic development have secured sponsorships verbally, and we have to get this all approved by you tonight, but we've already secured sponsorships to raise money. I think we're an important part of this because I think our business community can raise a lot of funds for this event. Our idea is to not have an expense for this town, but to make money for the town. Maybe this year we go to Parks Department. Next year, maybe the Fire Department needs some air packs. Maybe the following year, the Police Department needs some vests. These are the type of things that if you include us on the business community side, and if you include us on economic development, and we have a lot of smart people on this committee, I think that we can bring a lot of value to the town, and we can do a lot of good things for our residents. Creating an event like this, I think, would be very beneficial. I've talked to each one of the council members. Wayne's been in my office, talked to Mike and you folks here, Jerry and Mike and Brian. I would encourage you to try to go with us on this, see how this goes, and we can build from us. But I certainly want Beth's involvement on it. She's done a good job on previous projects. It's been noted. I've participated in them, and Christmas in the Park was a good event. I don't know what budgets were and all that, but I know the community enjoyed it. So if you would consider our proposal and work with this, I think that the benefits from our committee and what we can raise in sponsorship, I think would benefit the residents and the community of St. John. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, but
I have one quick question. I know
Yes,
the
sir.
answer, but I thought it'd be a good idea to ask it. What was the vote for the Economic Development Committee for the passage of the recommendation to come to us for the event planner?
It was a unanimous vote, and then we also had park board members there too that were in agreement. Of course, they don't vote on our committee, but we had a unanimous vote on our committee, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
So you're looking to get this done now? You need this done now, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think urgency is of the utmost here, and if you can look at our summary that we've given you, at least then we can move forward. Before we spend any money, I want to get this in place that it's okay to do this event, and then that we can do our due diligence to make this all happen for the community.
Right. The timeline's already aggressive.
Yes.
So can I make one suggestion?
Sure.
If you're gonna, because I didn't see a contract, Mr. DeYoung, in any of the paperwork or whatever, I would just say, if you're gonna do this, that the motion would be to accept or to approve a contract and authorize the town council president to sign, subject to legal review, just because I'm not comfortable telling you that I agree without having even seen the document.
There isn't a contract yet, correct? I mean, you're just looking for...
I have to refer to Jason.
I did email you, Dave, and I asked you to create a document with the parameters given to me by Mike Aurelio and the EDC.
So, you want me to create it?
Yes.
I missed that email, I apologize, but, okay, I can do that. So then I'll approve it, assuming I draft it, but.
That's right. We want you to draft.
So it's still safe to do it subject to your review?
Yeah,
Yes.
by drafting and review, yeah.
We like that.
I apologize, I didn't
And
say that.
it's not to, I don't know you have the details, it was not to exceed $10,000.
I've got that.
Well, I got a question on that. At the park board meeting, it was from 3,000 to 5,000. Now it went up to 10,000. And Mike, you weren't in town in 06, 7, 8 when we had the carnival that we came in. The Public Works did everything, the department heads, everybody stepped up and did their thing, and we didn't have an event planner. So if you start now, you're $10,000 in the hole, we're gonna have a beer tent, right? You're gonna have to have security, probably county police. It was made mention that there was 2,000 people at this last event for fireworks. There was probably 500 to 800 people. It wasn't crowded. It was pushed rather fast, so there wasn't a lot of communication with it. There's a lot of setup for it. I think our department heads, police, fire, public works, Tyler is well qualified in the organizing this, but that's my opinion. And then there's overtime too. It's going to be a holiday. So how are we going to work that?
So that's why we need an event planner. So it's a big lift. We need somebody who's done this before. I sat through a few.
Person has 26 years
26,
experience doing
right.
it.
26 years experience doing it.
We had 0 experience with the carnival, and we did great.
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Pondeus. I think our board, I think we have the ability to raise funds to market. We also have the ability to vet every process along the way here. And I know you have people in departments that can do that also. But, you know, this is not just our doing. This is a town doing. And I want inclusion of you. They asked you to be on that Parks Board's liaison again tonight. And I need Beth. I want Beth to count the money, you know?
Well, she does good on the organizing. She got good organizing skills.
But yeah, but I think if you're going to look at just 1 or 2 people to organize, we've got a committee that has already done 2 months worth of work on this. You know, just getting the information to see what it's going to cost. We need your approval tonight so that we can see if we can proceed forward. So,
I'd like to proceed forward with it, but have the town do it without a planner.
and
I think it can work, but
to the event that this is gonna be, it'll be very difficult to do. And that's just my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments? You got anything, Mike? No?
Where would the money come from? Your money that you're getting from donations?
Sponsorships, yeah. We also can apply for that grant for the fireworks. I mean, last year, I believe the fireworks were around 20,000, is that correct, Beth? We got a grant for that. The main idea, I believe that whatever the cost is for the event planner will be made up, but then there will be additional funding that we can give a donation to the Parks Department. That's where we're trying to drive this, so.
is there a lot of,
This town is growing, and my goodness, you guys need more than 3 employees in a Parks Department, you know? I mean, it's a shame, the size of this community and what's happening. You got 3 employees, come on? And I'm a business person here.
yeah, it took a while to get the 3 employees. It
Yeah, but I
took
mean,
all
you
these
know,
years.
Yeah, you have a lot of shortfalls. I see that as a resident coming in front of you guys, and that's why I decided to volunteer, to see if I can contribute to try to make these good things happen. I believe the business community can make up whatever funding it's going to be for that event planner. Now, if it doesn't work, you know, I still believe we can cover that cost, and it shouldn't be an overall cost to the town. But we're crawling on this first one, you know. We're hoping to generate a few dollars here for the Parks Department, you know. And maybe next year, like I said, it could go to the fire department or the police or Public Works. I mean, there's always a piece of equipment that you need. I mean, I've heard here tonight you need plows. Mike, I don't know what Public Works needs, but you need a lot of help over there too. So in economic development, we're trying to come up with ways to get some revenue sources. And when we heard about this, we kind of dived into it to see if we can constructively bring something before the board for you to consider. So,
Is there a lot of businesses that are interested?
Yes, sir.
5, 10?
Oh, yeah, but we can't proceed
I know.
further than this until you approve it. And I would encourage you to improve it because I think the town needs it. And just think about a wonderful day this is going to be. I can envision the Black Hawk helicopters landing over at Heartland Park and the fireworks going off, and Mr. Boersma's memorial gets dedicated that day. I mean, what a great day that will be for this community.
Yeah, that would be great.
So,
That would be nice.
I agree.
so
Thank you,
anyway,
John.
I
Thanks
probably
for
talked too much, but
No, we
thank you for-
appreciate all that you do and all that you've done for the town. I've known you for 40 years, probably.
Yes, sir.
Long time since Lansing and even a little bit in South Holland.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your
But
hard work, John.
I appreciate that I'm able to serve, so.
Okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions or comments?
Nope.
Then we will entertain a motion to, where am I at here? To accept the contract and authorize the town council president to sign, subject to legal review.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for all your hard work,
Thank you
John.
for.
All right, we go on to H. Consider Resolution 2022-02-23A, which is adopting the joint interlocal cooperative agreement with the town of Sherrville for our building inspection services. This is something that is ongoing. Does anybody have any comments they want to make on this? This allows us to share,
Building inspectors?
yep, building inspectors back and forth.
The only difference is probably we'll have less reason to because we now have more or less another part-time inspector, so that's helped taking some of the workload.
Yep. Okay. So do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-02-23A?
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Support for that?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Item number I is to consider release of the performance surety for Walden Clearing Phase 3 and accept the maintenance surety. This received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission at the February 16th, 2022 meeting. Any comments needed on this, Brian? It's
No,
pretty
sir.
straightforward. Okay.
Kind of standard.
Okay, questions or comments on this? Otherwise, I will entertain the motion to release the performance surety and accept the maintenance surety for Walden Clearing Phase 3.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Brian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Looks like we're doing pretty much the same thing for Summerlin Estates Phase 2. Or we're accepting the maintenance surety for Summerlin Estates Phase 2, which was also received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission at the February 16, 2022 meeting. Questions or comments? Then I will entertain the motion to accept the maintenance surety for Summerlin Estates Phase 2.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. We've got to consider the release of the performance surety for Summerlin Estates Phase 3 and accept the maintenance surety. This received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission at the February 16, 2022 meeting. Questions or comments? Then I will entertain the motion to release the performance surety and accept the maintenance surety for Summerlin Estates Phase 3.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian, for your
Second.
support. Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. I'm sorry. Item L is to consider release of the performance surety for Mill Creek Phase 6 and accept the maintenance surety. This received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission on the February 16th, 2022 meeting. Questions or comments? Then I will entertain a motion to to release the performance surety and accept the maintenance surety for Mill Creek Phase 6.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. It is approved 5-0. Item M, consider the acceptance of performance surety for Greystone Unit 2, Block 5. This received a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission at the February 16th, 2022 meeting. Questions or comments? Not, I will entertain a motion to accept the performance surety for Greystone Unit 2, Block 5.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. There's support for that.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
That is approved 4-0.
0.
1 abstain. Mr. Schilling. Okay. Now, do I have this on my agenda? Or the St. John Police Department memorandum?
No, that was supposed to be an odd extra item, I suppose.
That's going to be brought up under reports and correspondence.
Okay, then that's where we're at, reports and correspondence. Brian, you have anything?
Did we solve the one issue with the commons?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Right, that's what I
voted that down.
denied it,
Yes.
correct.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure we covered all the bases.
Right.
Do you want me to handle this one? I have nothing.
You have nothing?
No.
Okay. Mike?
Maybe just adding to, do you just want to talk about our committees, is that what you're asking for?
Mhm. Yeah, reports.
So I wanted to thank both the Park Board and Economic Development Committee for working together, and we're moving forward with our July 4th celebration. I did reach out to a contact of mine inside the Indiana National Guard, and they seem very interested in having maybe a flyby or some helicopters there. They did want that included in a maybe some recruiting for our armed forces. I certainly would welcome that and encourage us to do that and support our armed forces. So, but that's all I have.
Okay.
Jerry, excuse me, I missed my opportunity.
I see that.
I'd like to propose, we finally found our candidate to put on the M4 stormwater board, and also the planning commission.
Okay.
To replace the lady who resigned.
Okay.
And his name is Joe
Gosnagel.
Yeah, I have a tough time with his last name, but I'd like to move that we place him on the boards.
Okay, there's support for that?
Second.
Comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Mr. Schilling.
A couple things from the Board of Safety meeting we had 2 weeks ago. They had a favorable recommendation for the transfer of funds from the one part-time to a full-time position on the fire department, which we did defer tonight. They didn't go down, they got to go down and get with the clerk and get the financial stuff in the line there.
Okay.
Another thing that they had a favorable recommendation to use CARES Act money for the police department. I have explained to them that in our budget process here, we will overlook that and see going forward how many members we can actually give them. They asked for up to 6. They had a favorable recommendation for 4, but without knowing our money's going forward, I think you were wanting to have a study session on the CARES Act money, and that's at the time that we'll look at that. And then they're getting ready to retire their canine that they have at present. It's come at the end of its use
He had
for
to
a canine
retire
dog. So
for injury or illness or
services. He's ready to retire.
yeah, ready to retire. So they're going to be. I don't know if that's what you have tonight on there, but they're going to be looking for some additional funding for their canine unit. And then I have nothing else.
So I did talk to the chief on that. He said the costs, trying to remember. You recall what the cost was on that?
He said it was going to be about $14,000 to replace the dog.
And he's raised half of that through fundraising, and he's wondering if the town council is willing to try to find $7,000 to cover the balance of that. So we will look at that. He said he doesn't need that answer tonight.
All right.
But that's pretty much what he's asking for on that one.
Is Shane gonna get a replacement dog? Is that the idea? Okay.
All right, Wayne.
Yeah, I gave you guys some information on the water meter prices, so I want you to kind of look at that and see maybe in another meeting that we might raise the cost right now. So the SCADA system, we had a meeting today, about a 2.5-hour meeting. Jason was with us, and they went through how the SCADA system is going to work. It's just about done on the water side, and they'll start installing it late March. And then we got something in the request of purchases for some pipe to get well 8 hooked up to the treatment plant. That's in their request of purchase. The total patcher is something that's been sitting in the garage at Heartland Park. It helps repair streets, but it leaves a lot of tar and stuff, and people complain about it, so it's just sitting there. Jason knows that there's somewhere in the office. Chris had started something, and I think it was supposed to go to Dave. because of the amount, can we sell it outright? Another town wants to buy it or they're interested in it. So I think from the conversation I had with Chris, Dave might have to look at that, what Bob Davis wrote up. So I'm not putting you on the spot, but it's something that you have to look and maybe give your legal opinion on, as how we would, move it on out of our barn and to somebody else's possession.
And that's doable.
Yeah, okay, so.
It's not, a transfer to another governmental agency is an easier task
Than selling it outright.
That's correct.
Right. And then,
I'm sorry, before you go on, so what are the next steps with that then?
Well, I gotta see what he's talking about first.
Okay,
but-
all right.
But generally.
He's got to look at it.
Generally, it's
easier.
It's easier if I'm gonna, and we went through this with some stuff we donated, I think.
Was our town?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Halloween stuff.
Yeah, so this is easier because it just goes to another municipality and we can do a governmental transfer that way. So let me just see it and I'll.
Right, I'll try and get it to you or have Jason get it to you. And then I'd like to have a meeting and discuss Suncrest and the possibility of using that for a community center versus the acreage that we may or may not get in Heartland Park. If we can get do the pros and cons at a public meeting, that would be great. To try and get that moving. I mean, we all campaigned for it.
Do we have costs on either way?
Well, we have some, but and we can bring them to you.
Enough to help make a decision, or?
Maybe what you could do is, I'm with Wayne, if you don't mind, maybe you guys can direct the Parks Department or us to do a analysis of both properties and whatever needs, I don't know if we need to hire a firm, you probably do, because this is a major league project.
Yeah,
And do a
lot of
thorough
expense.
analysis of both how operations, cost of building, maintenance, all of those. And, if programs are gonna be there, some type of robust analysis, because we're talking about millions of dollars.
Right.
So maybe, I know you can give us, maybe the council will give us direction to pursue with that. I think would be helpful.
And there's a big difference in the building there's now, we might have to improve we would have to improve the inside where the sanctuary is, but versus a new building could be 15 million or more, but 15 million or more, you have to have a referendum. So there's an advantage there with Suncrest. You probably wouldn't have to have the referendum because it would be under 15 million. And that's what the improvements, I think, in it, but.
I think what Mike's asking for is a cost analysis of what it's
Right.
gonna cost us to run this
On a yearly basis.
on a yearly basis.
Right.
How much it's gonna take to staff it, because, I witnessed with the ice arena many years ago, the town got into something that they had no business getting into.
And then was stuck with it.
Bankrupt with it, right?
So, I think it's a good idea, but you
Well,
gotta
this
look
would
at
be-
all your cost of funding to have the employees there to work the thing,
And I think an analysis of both. We have two options on the table.
Right.
Both need to be analyzed thoroughly, for we know that it's not, for we can maximize success.
Right, I think that would be great.
But I guess the question is, do we need a meeting to say, do that? Or is that something that the park?
Well, we could probably get the
direct us to do
information
Okay.
and see. I know Suncrest wants to
The park
build.
board might balk at paying for these analysis. They may be costly. Who would pay for these analysis?
The park board.
Park board, okay.
I mean, when we do roads, we
So-
have to pay the engineering to
Okay.
give us
I
estimates.
figured I better ask,
And
because it may be,
yeah.
this, you're talking about a multi-million-dollar project. Well,
Yeah,
it
but
need- it'll-
we're not talking about a multi-million-dollar expense to do an analysis.
Right.
For sure not, but it might be thousands of dollars.
All right. All right, so
It
you've got.
will be.
It will be thousands of
Yeah.
dollars, right?
Yeah, so you've got direction there, so you can go back to your board?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that. Thank you.
I do,
And then I think Mike had brought up, he had kind of was in agreement with me, hiring of another person in the town manager's office. We want to see how that's going to work money-wise. If we can pull from another department, there's three ladies that work in Public Works. If we can get one to come over once in a while, just to help get things going. Because once you get a full-time employee, now you got insurance and everything else, and that can be expensive. And I know we're on a tight ship, So
Anything else?
that should be it.
I want to go back to one thing then. You talked about the water, we have an RTP for the water main stuff.
Right.
And so the water main stuff is, and you and I discussed this.
Right.
So the water main
Before
stuff
the
is
meeting.
actually, and I talked to Mr. Westland about it as well. The water main stuff is part of the water department's bond that they took out. So it's really not up to us to tell them that where they have to spend their money. But if you're looking for some direction, because that's the impression I got, the water department would like direction from the board.
Right.
From the council to say, yes, we want to go and get these water mains fixed. So go
Well,
ahead and get
this is,
started.
it's not to get the water mains, well, not to get the water mains fixed, it's to purchase the 18-inch pipe that with the, what's going on with Russia and the gas prices, this product is hard to find. We found it.
Okay.
We need 850 feet. It's approximately $93,000. And I think what's the best way? My question is, what's the best way to get that approved? Because we got 15 days to say yes or no.
Okay.
And the price can go up, it can go down, but what's happening in Russia, in the Ukraine, I think it's gonna go higher.
Yeah.
And that cost was with transportation and everything. But we need that specific pipe, that size, to hook up 600 feet from Redeemer Church to go into the treatment plant. And then we need the rest of it to go from where they stubbed off on the property line to go to well 8. And then we'll be good. We don't have to worry about, oh, we can't get it and at somebody's mercy.
So I think we all agree that we need to get that done. The question is, Mr. Westland, how that should be handled. Because we've got an RTP before us tonight.
One thing I want to know first, I want to step in.
Go ahead.
Where are we on the process of actually hooking up the well? Has any of the permits been looked at with item to get this thing up and going?
That's another thing.
Because right now, we're here in February, we need this going by June. I want to make sure that the process is started to actually construct the building, get the well online, and have the item permits so we can get this going.
So if you look in the request to purchase, the whole package was $145,000. I'm going off the top of my head. I'm pretty close. The item permit, because you can't drill until you get the item permit. The item permit is also in the request to purchase. It's for $7,980. Now they're already Peerless is already getting that paperwork done. I've talked with the engineers, and that's all set. They got and that was in your pamphlet too. I gave you guys in the pages. There's a little yellow circle. That's the wellhead protection area. So there can't be any pipes going through there, and it's all been good. The only thing that could run through there is wire. You can't have conduit. You have to protect the wellhead protection area. So that's all set up.
As long as
And the way that the plans are, it's supposed to be like in the middle of June that they'll start drilling. The hole's already there one time. That cost $8,000. So what they got to do is normally they go 10 foot off, but if you miss on that 10-foot movement, you can come up with nothing. So we want them to drill exactly in the same 4 or 5 inch hole and go all the way down. He's going to have to tear out all the plastic that's in there, but they don't like doing it, but they're going to do it this time because we know that there's some good water there as far as gallons per minute, but they want to make sure it's a good well. Once they do that, they can test it, and they'll tell you how many, if they'll get 1,250 gallons per minute or what. So
That sounds great. I guess I'll ask the business question. Has this been bid out, $93,000? Did we get several bids on this to make sure the pricing is right?
Well, the reason why we got that price, that's the only place you can find it. I had 2 different people, and there is a comparison. Look with Ferguson. You got Core and Main, and you got Ferguson.
I see
So
Core and Main.
look at the prices, and I was told it from Core and Main, that was with delivery and everything, with that so much a foot.
Ferguson's for $12,000?
No, it's not.
Ferguson is higher than that.
Yeah, it's not in these documents. It's the one that you
It's
sent
the
out.
pamphlet that I gave you, and
There was a comparison there side by side. Yes, this is the better price.
Okay.
right, that's the better price.
Making sure you bid it up.
That's the only one that has it on ground. The other one, 3 to 4 months, maybe.
Yeah, I know, everything's on back order, I know.
It's all messed up, and normally the contractor will do all that. The last time we need a pipe, I got pipe again. It cost us $27,000, but the state said they couldn't get it, and we got it. So that saved some time, and it was the pipe that we want to use.
Right.
This is C900, it's the blue stuff that everybody sees on the ground.
Yeah, so I don't want it to appear like we're telling the water department to spend their money.
Right.
So wanted to ask Mr. Westland, what's the best way to proceed here?
So,
Clarify one thing, please. What Wayne has said is 100% true for well 9. Well 8, unfortunately, is a different animal. I was able to contact with Peerless earlier yesterday, and unfortunately, the way that well is being set up is the IDEM permit will be funded with the construction costs and run through Haas and Associates.
Okay.
So once we pull the trigger on actual construction, that's when Haas and Associates will fill out the IDEM permit for well 8.
Okay. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just want to make sure that everybody's understanding well 8 and 9 are.
I thought it was gonna be like operate at the same time, so when they build the well house for 8 and well 9 are be at the same time, so you're saving money on mobility and the construction costs. Because you have the same crews there, but.
The construction costs, you are correct. It's just the IDEM permit for well 8 is going to be filed by Haas and Associates, not by Peerless Midwest.
Okay.
That was agreed to back in 2019. Megan found the original email and forwarded it to me.
Okay.
Is that process going?
Not until construction is approved. And I believe we're going to have to submit that out for bid because that's going to be a rather expensive well house. But we cannot begin even designing until we get the water quality analysis of well 9. If well 9 has the same problems as well 8, that determines one set of construction costs. If well 9 is cleaner and more pure than well 8, then that determines a whole other set of construction. So we need to get the water analysis from well 9 done first.
Are they working on it?
Yeah. That is part of the 142,000 and change.
But the first part at the 7,980 is for the permit, and you can't do anything without a permit.
Why, Wayne, is it so expensive?
The permit, I don't know what.
No, I'm just curious.
That I don't know. If
Strange.
it's just
Almost
the
$8
paperwork.
grand.
Yeah, but if you don't have it, you can't drill the well.
No, I understand.
I don't know
that.
if there's any other cost in there.
But I'm wondering what the heck costs $8,000 for a permit?
They probably have to study the land and the ground and
He has to come out. The one guy has to come out from the state to look at it. But that's I don't know.
I'm just curious.
I'm trying to find out.
That's nuts.
All right. So.
Well, as long as these costs get the thing going in motion,
Well, we're
I'm
trying to.
for it.
We're trying to keep it going.
All right, so Mr. Westland, how do we proceed on this? Just approve the RTP and, go ahead.
well, it's my understanding that this money, and I'm going to turn to Wayne, the money that's going to be used to pay for this is money from the water bond issue.
That's what I had the impression.
So, based on that assumption, it's the water board that has the authority.
Okay.
So, if they're looking for the town council's approval because they want to make sure everybody's on the same page, you could make a motion with regard to that RTP to authorize the water board, if they find this to be the lowest, most responsive.
It's the only
right,
one that we have.
Right, and when you're under a certain number, you just got to make the request, and it sounds like you did, or not you, but they did, and they made the request. This is the one that came back as the lowest. So I'm fine with the process. I don't want this body to do something to authorize or to spend some other body in town's money. So if they're looking for approval, I think you can make a motion on that RTP to authorize them if they deem it advisable to approve that and go forward. But
Would you recommend, and we have a special meeting, to have them okay it, because you don't want to lose the product?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I would. Because if you're, and I agree with you that what's going on in the world today is greatly going to affect prices on things like this. And I think that it would be a shame, and we're still, as of today, we're still under the emergency pandemic order, so they could do the meeting via Zoom if they wanted to.
And approve that amount of money?
Yeah, and
Okay.
at 48 hours notice, right, not including weekends or holidays. but all they gotta do is set it, so today's Wednesday, right? Like,
Right.
they could go Monday, I suppose, Monday night, Tuesday to be safe, but.
Yeah.
But you could get a meeting, 48 hours notice, not including Saturday, Sunday, or holidays.
All right.
So
Yeah,
so while we're there, can we just get that motion on the table right now?
Yeah, you
since we're
you
talking
could,
about it?
and I don't know the RTP number, but it would be a motion to authorize the water board to approve RTP, whatever the number is, if they find that to be the best.
It's the 850 feet of 18-inch PVC, blah, 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 Wayne? For-
Yeah,
for-
it's,
93,627.50, yeah.
you want the invoice number?
That's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's the second page, well, the way it's done, it's the second page, where it says Core and Main.
Right. Yeah, so is this appropriation number, is that?
That'll work. Just some way to delineate it, that's
Okay.
fine. Appropriation number 605-000-430.
Yes. And the motion is to do what?
Authorize the water board to approve if they find it to be the best bid.
Do I have that motion? Are there, anybody gonna make that motion?
Excuse me. This will also affect the fourth request to purchase, because there's another one for Peerless Midwest for $145,764. That's also a part of the water bond.
Okay.
And there's also the
Ferguson.
605.
And then there's the Sheehy well, and then there's also another Peerless one for $21,750.
And they're all the same appropriation number, so.
Yes, those are all part of the water bond for wells.
Okay. So let's just get this straight. We've got one for 93,627.50 for Core and Main. We've got one for Peerless for $145,765 and
No cents.
no cents.
Euros, yeah.
And we've got one for Sheehy for $7,950. And another one for Peerless Midwest for $21,750 and no cents.
And then you have one for Ferguson Waterworks for,
No.
Nope. That's it for this appropriation.
oh, I'm sorry, wrong number.
Those four. And they're all in the same appropriation number. So that's the motion?
That would be your motion.
All right, do I have that motion from someone?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Support for that?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say
Aye.
nay. That is approved 5-0. Okay. I'm sorry, Wayne, was there anything else? Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I don't think
Oh,
so.
but okay,
Jerry, I have one more item, if I may.
you may.
I'd like to make a motion. The police department has a 2008 Tailwind single-axle cargo trailer. That's estimated value is $1,000. The police department requests that we donate it free of charge to the Hobart Police Department. Their current overseas task force to utilize it during their task force operations, which it was originally intended for, which is strictly a cargo trailer.
Okay.
And it was purchased for use by Lake County Driving Under the Influence Task Force.
Okay, there's support for that?
Second?
Okay, questions, comments? Not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Okay, I have just a couple of things. One, and Wayne kind of referenced this, a study session I've got a study session. I'd like to get it scheduled for March 7th. And that's really to discuss the ARPA funds that we got from federal government. We're talking to police and fire about adding additional personnel there. But there's $4 million worth of funds there. And so we want to talk about that in an open forum. And then also, we may get into 93rd and 41 intersection as well, Mike? Okay?
Yep.
So that will be on Monday, March the 7th.
Jerry, do you think we ought to put some kind of notice out, since it's going to be for the public input, put some kind of notice out that that money is not, the 4 million is not just available for anything they want? In other words, they're not going to be able to come in with a wish list.
Yeah.
There are specific categories that money is only allowed for and nothing else. Because if you tell the public, oh yeah, we got to have $4 million to spend, come in and give us your wish list.
Well, maybe the best thing to do would be to ask for suggestions as far as emails go, so we don't tie up a lot of conversation time, but then as a board, we can talk about the different options and ideas that come in, because we can kind of weed through them.
No, I agree, but I'm
To
just
eliminate
saying
the ones
it
that
could
don't fit
turn,
into the
yeah, it could turn into a real crazy house.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. I was gonna schedule that for March the 9th on Wednesday, but NDOT has scheduled a public hearing for the public to discuss the roundabout at Klein and 231, and that will be on Wednesday, March 9th at Suncrest Church. So anybody's interested in that, NDOT's having a public hearing there, so that's why we had to move ours to Monday the 7th. That's all I have. Beth?
Yes, so I'm going to start by apologizing because I have quite a lengthy report this evening. I'm going to go ahead and add into my report. I know Brian actually opened the door for the American Rescue Plan monies. Recently, the Treasury Department offered final guidance or a final rule on the use of our ARPA money. Just to recap, it was signed into law on March 11, 2021. $130 billion was earmarked for local units of government. St. John will receive about $3.9 million and has received its first disbursement of $2,121,810 in August of 2021. Obviously, we have not spent any of those funds to date. ARPA funds must be obligated by the end of the year 2024 and spent by end of year 2026. We do have our first reporting deadline on April 30th of this year. The purpose of ARPA money, just so that we're on the same page, is it's to be viewed as a response to economic resilience and recovery. It is not to spackle over challenges in a budget. Like Brian mentioned, there are 4 spending categories. You can respond to public health emergencies or its negative economic impacts related to COVID-19. You can use it for essential worker premium pay, which the Treasury came in with some final rulings on this category. You can use it for replacement of lost revenue due to COVID-19. The Treasury also came in with final rulings on this category. And lastly, water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. A few key changes for replacement of lost revenue. This is going to be your most flexible spending category. Prior to this final ruling, NEUs had to complete a very complex lost revenue calculation. Now nearly every NEU, including us, we can receive a standard allowance of $10 million. Okay, we're not using 10 million, we're getting 3.9. So how can replacement of lost revenue spending occur? You can use it for nearly any governmental purpose. That was in their final ruling. So it is no longer that you can only use it for certain things, but that you can now use it for any governmental purpose, with exception. Some of the key things to consider is you can include capital projects and you can include local matches. You are excluded from using it for pension liabilities, replenishment of revenues, bond payments, debt service, and legal settlements. If you were considering giving an essential worker premium pay, some of the key changes here are as follows. You can include premium pay, which would be bonuses and stipends, for any municipal employee. They gave clarification on that. However, the employee must work or have worked in person. It can be given annually from 2020 onward. You cannot pay any individual or employee more than $13 additional per hour or an aggregate amount of $25,000. It excludes, premium pay excludes elected officials and volunteers. And so I just, Brian mentioned it, so I figured this would be a good time to share these final rulings with you.
Excuse me, Beth, before you got a great line of thought going. Is there some kind of package that they sent?
There is not a package that they sent, but the information is on, you can access it through AIM, you can go to the
Okay.
ARPA
I was gonna
website.
say,
I just did a little bit of.
It isn't on NERC or anything, is it?
I'm sorry,
NERC?
Can you use NERC?
No, is it on?
Oh, I don't think it's on NERC.
You're not sure? Okay.
No, but I think that with your NERC project,
long as
you
it's
could
on
consider
AIM, we
using
can
the
find it,
ARPA,
yeah.
yes. It was just a little bit of research.
Matching grants, would that cover like this community crossing grant?
Very well could. I mean, that's the best way to maximize a dollar.
Well, it sounds to me like they changed the rules and they've gotten more liberal with the money.
They defined the rules in a final ruling, yes.
Yeah, because
They
before it was
clarified the
really
rules.
sketchy.
So I figured that would be a good time to share that with you. Fund reestablishment. I wanted to talk, any more questions on the ARPA? Okay, fund reestablishment. I did notice on this month's agenda that reestablishment of certain funds was not listed. I also realized that the town council has hired its own financial advisor, but I wanted to bring to your attention that it would be prudent for you to decide if you plan to reestablish certain funds. Reestablishment of funds requires a public hearing to be noticed in the paper 2 times, 7 days apart, 10 days prior to the public hearing. It also requires an ordinance to be considered following the public hearing. Notice of adoption must also occur. So luckily for this board, the DLGF has extended its submission deadline this year from April 30th to May 31st. However, I would still press upon you that time is of the essence if you wish to proceed, because I would suggest that public hearings would occur at your next town council meeting. I need proper time to notice the public hearings from my office, and remember, it requires 2 notices for this particular matter. I'm open to discussing this further now or later if you'd like, or you can contact your financial advisor for more information.
We'll meet offline on that.
I'm sorry?
So we can discuss that later
Okay.
rather than now. But yes, thank you.
Annual financial report, like Mr. Aurelio brought up, was submitted to Gateway. I did provide a PDF copy of this to Jason as well, so I'm assuming he passed it along to you.
Did.
If he did not, or if you would like a digital version, you can access it through the Indiana Gateway. All you have to do is click on Search Reports. For the public, if you're interested in a PDF version, feel free to email me. I can get that to you. And I think I will probably provide you, Jason, if you don't mind, a link, and we can get it on the website as well, in case somebody would rather access it through the town's website.
Sure.
This will lead me to a snapshot of our 2021 financials. So Jason, if you don't mind bringing that up.
It's asking for a password.
Oh, shoot. You know what? Let me, if you don't mind, I'll run down. Sorry about that. Sorry, Jason.
Hey, Wayne.
No, I'm wondering what the heck's a parade going on back here?
Okay, was that
It's
good?
gonna be, he wrote it, it's gonna be 11,000.
11,465.
Because that we can save.
Okay, so this
Send us
is
this.
a snapshot of the 2021 financials. I know it seems strange that we're in February of 2022, but it's pretty common that you must close out your year before you can provide this sort of information. The first slide, if you don't mind, Jason, is an overview of the town's cash balances. This overview will include all funds. We started out the year with $29.5 million and ended with $40.2 million. I know that seems like a pretty steep increase of 36%, but I would like to note that $10.5 million, or 98% of that increase, is from ARPA and debt issuance, which we can talk about in more depth here. Notable funds that we can account for that $10.5 million increase. The first is our ARPA fund, which, like we just talked about, this is federal funds in response to COVID-19. We did receive our first disbursement, increasing our total cash balance in the amount of $2.1 million in August of 2021. The second fund really increasing our cash balance is the water utility fund. The town council issued bonds in the amount of $8.4 million. I believe it was the summer of 2021, if I'm remembering correctly. Just as a side note, that we still have about $7.5 million remaining of these bond proceeds as of the end of the year. Our general fund. So let's go over one of our largest funds first, and that's general. General covers a large portion of our operating budget for the town council, clerk treasurer, PD, fire department, building planning, and a little bit of park properties. Our general fund balance began at about a little over $3 million, ended at $3.6 million for 2021. So we saw an increase of $536,198, and this is primarily due to miscellaneous revenue, residential building permits, which we'll get into a little bit later. In our circumstances, residential building permits are our largest stream of miscellaneous revenue. So general fund receipts versus disbursements. Our receipts exceeded projections by $898,617, or 13%. However, our disbursements were over budgeted by $621,661, or 9%. So some of the most significant additional appropriations, if you think back to like October, November of last year, we went through 2 series of public hearings for additional appropriations. The first was, I want to say it was like about $1 million in appropriations spread amongst many different funds. And the second was for an MVH match for CCMG and a match from a one-time special distribution, okay? Those 2 aren't included. So we're just looking at the most significant additional appropriations, and town health insurance at $250,000 was one of our most significant, making us over budget. The legal and engineering was $346,766 over budget. And then we did have to purchase 2 police vehicles. In the defense of this, our riverboat funds, people weren't gambling due to COVID-19, so our riverboat funds were not coming in as expected, and so we had to make a change of where those police cars would be paid from. So it went from riverboat funding over to general. We'll move on to our TIF fund cash balance. This is another biggie. Obviously, the TIF fund must service the TIF area. Our largest project recently is Shops 96 and the 96th Avenue Road Extension project. We started out the year with about $2.4 million and ended with $318,000, decrease of a little over $2 million.
Question, Beth.
Primarily due to expenditures of the 96th Avenue extension.
Is that all paid now? Is that road paid for? I mean, to your knowledge.
I don't know if you guys have any more change orders coming through.
No, that's what I'm saying. To this point, there should be no more bills, right? We've swallowed it
As long
all.
as there are no more changes made, I would assume that you should be done paying your bills.
That's what I was curious about, is if there was any more to come, or were we finally at the end of the road?
Yeah, I mean, those generally come through Haas and Associates, so.
Right, and there's been nothing quite.
No, we don't have anything else.
The last of that was like the signage, some signs and stuff.
Right,
that they
but
had
I'm
to do.
just concerned that nothing pops out of the woodwork, and we owe them another 200 grand or something.
I've seen it before,
I'm sure.
so water fund cash balances, just to make sure we're all on the same page on this one. This is funded by ratepayers, not taxpayers. Primarily, let me rephrase that, primarily funded through ratepayers. We started the year with $3.5 million, ended with $12.7 million. Again, like I had mentioned earlier, $8.4 million was due to the water debt issuance, plus the 30% water rate increase that the ratepayers picked up. So that's why we're seeing such a heavy increase in this particular fund. Your wastewater fund, again, is primarily funded by ratepayers, not taxpayers. Started the year at $5 million, ended at just under $6 million, so an increase of just under $1 million. Again, council did a 10% wastewater rate increase, so you're primarily seeing that due to the rate increase.
Also, with the abundance of building permits, would that be with the impact fees? Being the cash balance?
You could, yeah, some
Not
of
the
it will
impact, I'm
be,
talking about when you pay on your building permit, you got the water,
Surcharge.
correct.
Not
You're
the water.
talking about like the tap-in fees and things?
Yep.
Yep. Yes. Investments is a new slide for the town of St. John. In July of 2021, my office invested a total of $8.5 million. This will show you, so the $8.5 million, on the left-hand column, you will see all the funds that are contributing to these investments and amounts. These investments are held in 6 different CDs. So in the right-hand column, you will see the CD amount, when they mature, and the interest rates, which aren't, wonderful, but it is what it is. As a side note, since the end of 2021, we did pay off, the first in the series of CDs matured in the amount of $2 million. We saw an interest earnings of approximately $4,000. With the current expectations that the Fed will likely hike interest rates 2 or 3 times in 2022, we decided to go out to bid to reinvest the $4,000 in a short 6-month CD so that we can hopefully reinvest at a higher rate sooner. Questions? Okay, let's go to debt issuance. So we're all familiar with Standard & Poor's S&P ratings. S&P ratings is a credit score that describes the general credit worthiness of a company, city, or country that issues debt. The Standard & Poor's company rates how likely debt will be repaid from the entity in question. And so in the right-hand chart, I just gave a quick synopsis of the letter grade and how that relates to our capacity to repay. So some of our most current debt issuance are on the left-hand side. In 2021, we did that Waterworks revenue bond and received a AA- debt rating. In 2020, we did the GO bond and received a AA debt rating. And in 2018, we did a redevelopment district bond and received a AA debt rating. And if you go back to the chart on the right-hand side, you'll see AA and AA- bring us in a very strong capacity to repay.
Beth, why do we have AA and 2 to 3, and then the 1 is a AA-?
Because Waterworks is a separate entity of the town.
Stands alone, so therefore the overall valuation's less.
So it's just rated, well, why is it rated weaker, though? Why is it debt?
Well, I'm assuming because of the amount of debt. If we go through to the next couple pages, we'll go over the debt issuance. So my assumption would be having to do with the amount of debt we were carrying at that particular time.
versus
I think
revenue
it's-
that comes in every year for the water.
That's right, and you gotta remember, your major source of repayment there
Is what?
was the rate increase.
Correct.
Which you hadn't done yet, and then we staggered it. So they take all that into account.
Yep.
And we didn't have the income stream.
To support
To
it
support
at the
the
time.
debt
Would
at
we
the
expect
time.
this to rise then because of the increase in rate? The next time
Probably
you-
not.
Well, they won't
Do you want
raise
it, I say
that
probably
rate.
not,
Yeah.
because your rate increase is only gonna last you for so long, and you're gonna need another one. So at the time you go to reissue your debt,
Reevaluate when you offer bonds to the market again, but they won't reevaluate it while it's in process.
Correct.
It's done. Once it's up, it's up.
but a double A minus, in my opinion, isn't anything to
They're all
squawk at.
excellent.
It's an excellent debt rating.
Thank you.
So, outstanding debt, we're gonna break this into different categories. Civil or our town had, as of the end of 2021, we had the lease purchase for the new fire truck, and the outstanding debt was $130,000, which matured in this January 2022. We have our building corp refunding bonds of 2013 with an outstanding debt of $4.66 million, which matures in 2026. The GO bond of 2020 with an outstanding debt of $5 million, which matures in 2036. That's on the town side, the civil side. For your redevelopment, which you generally use to fund your TIF projects, you have the RDA lease rental revenue bond of 2014 with an outstanding debt of $3.2 million, matures in February of 2030. And the redevelopment district bonds of 2018, that's what you used a lot of for the 96 project, $4.5 million in outstanding debt, which matures February 1st of 2031.
Do we ever pay any of these early?
You can.
No, not, I understand.
We
you
have in the
can't.
past.
Have we done it?
We've either refunded it or we have done an early payoff.
That's what I was just curious.
Waterworks, you have the Waterworks refunding revenue bond of 2017 with an outstanding debt of $1.6 million, matures in 2029. And then the revenue bond that was just recently passed in 2021 of $8.4 million in outstanding debt, which matures in 2039. Your sewage works is going to look a little bit different. You have the sewage works refunding bonds of 2012, refunding meaning they were refinanced. Outstanding debt of $775,000, matures in 2025. The next two are a creative financing opportunity the town took part in with the town of Sherrville. And we still report it on our debt schedule. So you have the additional capacity buy-in to Sherrville's sewage works. So we currently owe $985,000, which matures in 2026. And we owe, as part of the town of Sherrville's sewage works revenue bonds of 2016, $1.9 million, which matures in 2037. So as you can see, if you combine everything together, we have a total outstanding debt of $31.3 million. All right, so if we go over assessed value, you can see on the slide, St. John's AV growth has outpaced that of Lake County over the last 5 years. Our assessed value, you can see, is practically $1.7 billion. We saw which was a 10.2% increase from the year before. You can see on the side chart, Lake County had 3.9% increase. Obviously, AV is important because it plays a large role in the calculation of our tax rate. If you flip to the next page, St. John officially has the lowest tax rate in Lake County. Up until this year, we were always the second lowest tax rate in Lake County behind Winfield. We have taken over as the lowest at 0.4474 per $100 of assessed value. Please note that the average corporate tax rate for the communities researched and presented below is at the bottom, 1.3191. Okay. Circuit breaker. This is, well, I guess when I came into office in 2016, the big thing that took some time to wrap your head around. But circuit breaker is a cap on property tax payments made by a taxpayer. And so, for example, we're just using low round numbers. If a home is assessed at $100,000, this residential homestead is capped at 1% of assessed value, meaning the taxpayer will pay no more than $1,000 in all property taxes, excluding referendums and things of that nature. If the tax bill sent to the taxpayer is $1,100, the taxpayer still only pays $1,000, and that $100 not paid is what is labeled the circuit breaker loss. This loss is then shared proportionately based on tax rates by the overlapping units. So like your town, school, county, etc. Luckily for the town of St. John, we don't see circuit breaker loss quite as bad as other communities. In 2021, we saw, well, on the town side, we're going to call it a circuit breaker loss. On the taxpayer side, you're going to call it a circuit breaker credit. So overall, as taxpayers, we saw a credit of $36,669, and on the town side, we saw a loss of that same amount. So that brings us to our property taxes. I decided to create the chart net circuit breaker. So you'll see in 2021, our taxes levied net circuit breaker were about $7 million, and we collected about $6.9 million. So we had a 98% tax collection rate, which is pretty standard over the last 5 years, but that is a fantastic tax collection rate. We're very lucky. I talked about our biggest source of miscellaneous revenue, which is residential building permits. You will see here that new construction generated about $1.7 million in miscellaneous revenue. Residential housing increased from the previous year by 36%. Commercial building decreased by 67%. You had 3 in 2020 down to 1 in 2021. So single-family homes, there were 484. Duplexes, 74. 0 townhomes, totaling that 558 new residentials, and then the 1 commercial. This slide's just a little something for fun. Town accolades. St. John was voted 5th best place to live in Lake County according to Niche, and 6th best place to live in Indiana according to Home Snacks. Some fun facts. Our population as of 2020 is 20,303. We are the 10th largest municipality in Lake County. We hold the highest median household income in Lake County at $105,852, with the highest median home value at $290,200. And our owner-occupied housing units is 97.2%. Okay. So that wraps up my 2021 financial report. I will make sure to share this on social media. Jason, I'll probably give you a link for the town website again, if you don't mind. If anybody would like this emailed to you, you can email me or let me know. My email address is bethhernandez.clerk@gmail.com. I'd be happy to shoot that over for you. I think that I saved the most interesting present. Well, not really, because Tom, you already did your presentation. But from a town's perspective, I did want to go over Tom's proposal for that Arts Commission grant. So Jason, if you don't mind bringing that one up for me. Tom kind of spearheaded this project, but I think that it is a great opportunity for the town to partake in. Tom, I'm going to pass out to the council your narrative and purpose and things of that nature, just so they have a copy. If you can pass that down. So, a little bit of background. Tom has been visiting with town staff over the past couple of months, and maybe even longer probably. I know you've met with Tyler, you met the fire chief, me. From the summer, yeah. So this has been an ongoing thing, and his main objective was to discuss how his love of art and his love for the town could potentially merge. Okay, this was the whole objective that he's been kind of going through since the summer of 2021. So Tom and I collaborated and shared some ideas on how his vision could come to fruition, and then this grant opportunity arose. So Tom wrote the grant, and I went to my teacher days and I gave him a little bit of feedback and some input and, questions and things that I liked or, things of that nature. And so, and I also assisted with ways that the town could facilitate this project. And so what we are asking for, I know Tom mentioned that there's a grant submission deadline of March 9th. So we are asking the town council for approval. I am more than happy to submit the grant on Tom's behalf. It won't take me long. Tom has done a wonderful job with the legwork of the grant itself, and so it would really just be, taking his work and plugging it into the system from the town's perspective. Just a little background of this grant. The purpose is to provide funding to nonprofit organizations and public entities for specific art activities. So some of the eligible projects include a one-time art event. Jason, do you mind? Sorry. I know, thanks. One more. A one-time art event, a single performance, an exhibition, educational workshops, art classes, and training sessions. And I believe Tom's goal is to have his art, like we had talked about, I have a TV in my lobby, so some of his art could rotate on the TV. We can display it on easels in the town hall. It could be displayed in like Centier Bank and different places that residents frequent here often. With a final, like maybe grand finale of sorts, with like an exhibition at the VFW, where residents from the town can go and kind of view the art in a art gallery, type of a setting.
What general expense would be?
Into the microphone, please.
If you
talk? Yeah, fine.
One additional central expense would be the creation of archival prints that would last 100 years that would be retained by the town as their property and available, showing real people doing things in St. John to establish identity, constructive activity, the development of the town, and in the future could be on the walls of the new municipal building that's built in 25 years when the town, is 50,000 people.
And I know that, Mike, you're like a huge history buff here for the town of St. John. And what I've noticed, you go into the historical room, and who wrote the books? I don't remember the name. Tooley?
The first one was Bill
Yeah,
Tooley.
Bill
He was
Tooley.
a former town council.
And then it just sort of steps, right?
Until
I mean, it's kind of a lost art, the history of our town, and kind of documenting that and who did what. And I don't know, it's sad a little. It's still sad to me a little bit just to see it sort of stop. I believe it was like in the 80s, and there's nothing anymore documenting how our town grew and who did what. And so I personally like where you're going with the, the photos.
I'll continue shooting through the fiscal year.
Right.
None of the money would really reimburse me for my time spent shooting, but for printing the archival prints, preparing, like a couple of hard drives on archival use for the town of thousands of my images, the public meetings to work with the Economic Development Council, others, to assess what more I need to photograph, and then a selection of the prints and the images, and then on social media, on images around town at different businesses, the VFW, So it is both a lasting legacy as well as a one-year project to get it in front of the individuals, the citizens, the inhabitants, residents of the town, to really identify who they are as a collective, common good of what they're contributing, what they're achieving, what the town is building.
Sounds very, very nice.
And,
Like a nice program. Do we have a proposal for the
That's
total
what you have.
costs? And
I'm getting
Yeah,
to that.
she has information,
Yeah.
and
So if you
we're
flip-
pulling that together.
I haven't seen any of that. I see, and then the grant, what is the grant worth?
5,000. It's coming on the next
And
slide.
the total, okay.
You can get 5,000. In a sense, I'm your contractor to provide these services, and then as I do the portions of the project, you would reimburse me, or pay. So
Yeah. Here, we'll go to that. Here, if you switch Jason, to grant objective. So it's to provide the general public access to quality arts activities and support for local and Indiana artists, which would be TOM, who are a vital part of Indiana's economy and community life. And so what Mike was talking about, so you have eligibility to receive up to $5,000 to support your art project. The grant period runs from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Applications are due by March 9th, and then award notifications would be given in early July of 2022, which would then prompt TOM to be able to begin. As far as funding, so the town would formally submit the grant and oversee the receipts and disbursements of the funds. So essentially, as Tom proceeds with the project, he would submit claims to the town. As long as they meet the criteria of the funding or the grant proposal, then he would be reimbursed. Because he's obviously, none of us are photographers, and I don't know, who, that's his specialty. There is no match requirement for the town for this grant. We would receive if awarded, the town would receive its first disbursement of 75% between September and October of 22, and then a second disbursement of 25% in July to August of 2023.
So is the $5,000 that's the total amount of the grant, and who is that coming from, the grant?
It is coming from the Indiana Arts Commission.
Arts Commission?
AOS/APS grant
And then
opportunities.
is this going to cover the total cost of this entire program?
Yes. About half of that would go to paying me to produce most of these material costs on my part to do the prints at a do-it-yourself digital lab in Chicago to produce the quality of the prints. And then the rest of it would be, there's a certain bite out of it for her cost, administration, and then my sort of
Just so I'm
administrative.
clear, you're losing me.
Pardon?
So you're losing me a little bit. Will the 5,000 then cover the entire cost of the program?
Yes.
It does. It covers everything. So we're
Well,
just
you'd get
It wouldn't cover-
So we're simply a pass-through here? It's going to
Well,
cost nothing to the town?
We are the nonprofit, or we are the governmental agency that would submit the grant. Tom, it was kind enough to write the grant on behalf of the town in order to do this project. So yes, we would be the recipient of the grant. We would be overseeing the receipts and disbursements of the grant and the project itself.
So we just have labor involved here, just town labor involved of managing the grant?
Well, that's my job as the clerk treasurer. I manage the grants, and so
understand.
I
That's
don't
my
take it, I don't view it as labor. I view it as an opportunity for the town.
So so the grant we're just a pass-through then, and we're managing the grant?
Basically, yeah.
They're gonna
And
apply for the grant, they're gonna either give them up to 5,000, they might not give them 5,000, right? It says up to,
Correct.
you might get 2,500.
I think the way it will work is that if
We
we
get the-
request
we
a
apply for the grant.
5,000
She's
and
asking
they
for authorization
approve the
too.
grant, then we'll get the
Yeah, I know what
5,000.
you- But the
If they
grant
don't
is
think it
gonna
measures
award
up,
us
then we
up
won't
to
get the grant.
5,000. It might only give us $250.
Correct, at which point, if the grant, if the Indiana Arts Commission awards the town of St. John $2,500, Tom then must scale back his project to
Yeah.
meet within those parameters, unless at that time the town decided to
What way I think it
make a
works, though,
donation, or Tom decided he wanted to.
It sounds like a very nice project.
is that they will think that it's worth the 5,000. Yes, they'll give us that, or it's not worth that, so we won't get it, period. Now, I've been shooting this on my own time and continue shooting it. And if we don't get the grant, then I can't, I'm not going to take the time to produce the public-facing part of it, which is to prepare the portfolio archival and to conduct the exhibits and organize any volunteers to help me frame. And so it would sort of remain on my hard drive for a year until we can renew the grant. Or maybe, if we don't get the grant from the state, some of the businesses might donate money for some aspect of it, which would be a different issue,
Sounds great.
So, yeah, essentially, we're looking for approval to allow me to submit the grant, which is due by March 9th.
May I ask one question, please? Who will own the pictures?
I own the copyright. So, in a sense that you will own a product, so you will own the archival prints, and you will own whatever we prepare for exhibit. Now, one detail would be if we frame things, we don't have to buy frames because I have 100 frames and I could loan the town frames for the duration of whatever exhibits we have. And then, but I retain as the artists the copyright for the photographs.
Would you be willing to donate, though, that copyright to the town?
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, isn't it pretty standard? I mean, if you have professional pictures taken, the artist or photographer owns the copyright, and you're
Yeah.
paying for the product.
And so I
essentially.
can sign a release saying that for archival purposes, you have these prints. And for, like a hard drive of 2,000 images, beyond the archival prints, I can say, these are for historical purposes and you can use them on your websites and for for archival records.
So you would license us to use it at no cost going forward?
Yeah.
As long as we don't sell them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's-
So,
Right.
so
Seems to
that,
be fair.
so if I have a picture of a project, a housing development, Shirley wants to use it for an ad, they can pay me commercial rates.
Right. Yes.
But aside from that, basically, you're getting free use of the copyrights, and we could sign a contract saying, for non-commercial purposes, non-advertising purposes, commercially, you can post them on the website, and we can use them for exhibits and that. And so that if I later wanted at a gallery I could have my own exhibit at a photo gallery, an art gallery later on with this, or publish a book about it. And I own the copyright for the exhibit, for the images.
Well, thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
So the motion would be exactly what, Beth?
I believe the motion would be to approve the submittal of the Indiana Arts Commission
Okay.
grant proposal.
Authorize you to submit that. Okay. Do I have that motion? From anyone?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. There's support for that?
I'll support it.
Thank you, Wayne. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Anything else, Beth?
No.
Mr. Westland?
No.
Jason?
I do have a few things. I will try to be quick.
Okay.
I have a contract from Mad Bomber for the 4th of July, the Freedom Fest, that is officially going to be on July 3rd at 9 p.m. The contracted amount is $25,000, which is a $5,000 increase from last year's show. Unfortunately, with the costs going up, we also are getting a slightly better show than we did last year. So I have the contract for you to peruse, along with the details of what they're going to provide for.
Is there a time-sensitive situation? Could we approve at the next meeting, or does this need to be done now?
It can wait till the next meeting. It's just that the sooner we get this done, the sooner we can apply to the,
South Lake.
For the grant.
Get the
yes,
grant.
for the grant. Thank you.
And there's
South
no
Shore.
risk of losing our spot?
He has penciled us in tentatively. I can, if you are thinking that you're going to lean this way, I can, try to have him pen us in without the
Maybe we can
contract.
Do it tonight, huh?
I'm comfortable doing
It's-
tonight, but.
It is a
I'll
little
make
more
sure-
than what we budgeted for or figured for, but
The grants,
we're
how
okay
much?
with it.
Yeah.
We won't know until we apply.
Oh, okay.
I think.
We
reality
are a little
expresses
time
right.
sensitive, all right?
Yeah.
So, Mike, you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the contract in the amount of $25,000 to the Mad Bomber.
Okay, is there support for that?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0.
Thank you. I will hand you the paperwork to sign. Or do you want me to?
No, no, I'll take care of it. That's fine. What,
right.
are you done? No.
No.
Okay.
The boundary and annexation survey for 2022 has been submitted to the Census Bureau, so they'll have the correct town borders for this year. The MS4 board, now that we have the third member on the board, as soon as you determine the date and the time for the meetings, please let me know so I can make sure it's advertised correctly and
Run
schedule
our
it.
election, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I believe that's it, unless,
Oh, yeah, did you want to talk about that?
I can.
Sure. Let's cover it. It's out there.
So, we received a opinion from the Public Access Council regarding the St. John Council Facebook page. In response to a formal complaint filed by Mr. Slavin, I responded to the Public Access Counselor. I've actually seen portions of my letter all over social media, so that I know it's pretty widely publicized. But I think it's notable that what the Public Access Counselor said was, as councilmen and as a clerk treasurer, in your public official capacity, when you touch a document or create a document, it creates an expectation in the viewer that it could be an official document of the town, right? So when Mr. Salatas responded to Mr. Slavin initially that no town employees were operating the page, I think that was an accurate statement. Then when we got the complaint and we delved into it further in my response, because Mr. Sweats is one of the administrators, now along with the title of the page, it does give the reasonable viewer the appearance that that is a public page. And I think, they said in the opinion it's not easy to determine, so Mr. Sweats could have a personal page, but I think because of the title and the information that was on there, a reasonable viewer would see that as a public page. And so that's what the Public Access Counselor said. The Public Access Counselor also said that we turned over all of the posts that were, and all of the information that was attainable to be turned over, and then advised that if this page is to continue as is, then the post and any deletions or comments, if you allow them, would have to be kept for a period of 3 years as a general communication. So I think the Access Counselor, properly noted that when we responded to the complaint, we gave them all the information that we had. We acknowledged that a reasonable person could see this as a official page of the council, and so therefore, that's why we turned everything over. They noted that and said, in the future, if there are corrections or deletions or comments, that those have to be archived for 3 years.
Right, and so the goal is to not have comments, and so there wouldn't have to be deletions, I would think, so.
So, right, and I think the real goal of the page was to just provide better communication with our residents from town hall. My thought on this is, you know, the management of or the administrator, or whatever the proper term is, really should be within town hall, you know, so I would ask that we move the management of this council page into town hall. You know, it was done by volunteers. I think that was, it's nice to want to be wise with the taxpayers' dollar and do that, but that was, I think that's not the right way to do it. It needs to be managed inside town hall.
Okay. All right, and we go to the RTPs. I know we've kind of cherry-picked them a little bit, Beth, and pulled out the ones that had related to the water bond.
Yep, so you have a RTP from Wonderwear North, 3 from Public Safety Direct, 1 from Bartonics, 2 from Al Warren Oil, 1 from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, 2 from Webb Ford, 1 from Ferguson Waterworks, 1 from DigiCert. There was another one from Core and Maine, I believe. Let me double check that I didn't accidentally forget to erase it. Which I think I did. Scratch Core and Maine.
Okay.
1 from Bozak Ford, 1 from Tonen Blank, 1 from Landheim, 1 from Superior Pumping. That wasn't another one, was it? Did I forget to erase that one? No, there's still 1 from Superior Pumping and 1 from Serve Pro. Totaling, let me deduct Core and Maine. $331,750.92.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
The total,
$331,750.92.
I'll make a motion, pay the RTPs for $331,750.92.
Thank you, Brian. Is there support for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Those are approved, 5-0. That could be the docket for the payment of the bills. You have in front of you the docket for $1,905,313.58. Questions or comments or a motion?
Motion to pay the docket for $1,905,313.58.
Thank you, Brian. There's support for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved, 5-0. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.